Somebody say dinosaurs were extinct. Say hello to the Jurassic Phillies and watch baseball from another era when this was the way you won, down and dirty. See Fred slug, see Ron jump, and oh yes, it would be justice, young lady, if your Braves for once finished a season happily ever after. Here's the way to win the West. In the American League, a 2-out single in the final frame. It's been 10 years, Chicago, but go ahead, chill the champagne. We'll show you why this man is on a baseball show in our left field segment. And if you don't think winning is everything, try telling that to the Phillies' aging Fizz kids. 1964 still hurts. Philadelphia freedom. It's been more than 2 centuries since anybody heard the real bell ring, and it's been a decade since this town's baseball team reached the playoffs. But after some September stumbling, forcing citizens to relive the swoon of '64, the free-spirited Phillies had the NL East title almost in their grasp. And hi again, everybody. I'm Pat O'Brien, and welcome to Baseball 93. 3 of the 4 divisions are all but resolved, but the MVP race in the National League is not. We'll be talking with 2 of the contenders, Lenny Dykstra of the Phillies, nails to his friends, and this past week's Sports Illustrated cover boy, Atlanta's Ron Gant. Also today, in a press conference about a half an hour from now, it's expected George Brett will be announcing that 21 years of baseball is, well, enough. Brett topped the 3,000 hit mark last season. Back in 1990, at age 37, he won the batting title, the first man to do that in 3 different decades. And on the subject of retirement, most of the 1993 pennant races are over. Here's how it went in the majors last night. 4th inning at the stick. We've now seen that swing 41 times this year. See ya. Barry Bonds puts the Giants ahead 2-1. Later, this frightening moment, 8th inning, Robbie Thompson down with a fractured cheekbone. He's day to day. And just back from a knee injury, Will Clark to the opposite field, parking it in the 10th, number 13. The Giants gain in the West. As Philly attendance topped 3 million for the first time, pitcher Tommy Green did it all at the plate. He smacked a 2-run single in the 5th, which made it 3-0. But you never count those late inning loving Braves out, do you? On this night, yes. In the groove. Green didn't need any more support. He took a 1-hitter into the 9th, then yielded to Philadelphia's favorite fireman, Mitch Williams, picking up save number 41. Wild Thing struck out Otis Nixon, and the Phillies slowed Atlanta's march. And there it is, gang. The only real race left. The Giants regrouping have won 7 of the last 8. In New York, Montreal pitcher Chris Nables kept the Mets hitless into the 7th. Hitting support was provided by Marquise Grissom. This was his 18th. The Expos, who've won 24 of 30, are still chugging, but they're running out of time quickly. The Phillies, staggering into mid-September, have sorted out the glitches. Their magic number now at 4. Call it clutch baseball in the AL East. The Blue Jays have now won 10 of their last 11. They dropped the Yankees last night 7-3. Also slip sliding away the Orioles, who were beaten by the Tigers 2-0. About to three-peat in the East, the Blue Jays can clinch at least a tie for first if they beat the Yankees today and the Tigers defeat the Orioles. Right now in Toronto, there is no score in the bottom of the 3rd. Like Toronto, the White Sox have displayed an admirable finishing kick. They dropped Texas last night with a dash of drama, winning in the bottom of the 9th 5-4. Chicago's now won 8 of the last 10 and can clinch a tie for first with a victory today over the Rangers. Our Greg Gumbel and Jim Cott are in the Windy City. Greg?
All right, Pat, this is Comiskey Park on the south side of Chicago, where the White Sox today are scheduled to take on the Texas Rangers. But it has rained all morning. It is raining now, and it is supposed to rain, according to the experts, for the rest of the afternoon. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Chicago. I'm Greg Gumbel. The White Sox were hoping to make it 2 in a row over the Rangers today, while the Rangers were hoping to cut into the Chicago White Sox lead. Last night, here in Chicago, the White Sox reduced their magic number for clinching the American League West to 3. Warren Newson's pitch single in the bottom of the 9th inning gave the White Sox a 5-4 win over the Rangers, reduced that magic number to 3. Joining me now is Jim Cott. And Jim, unless a miracle happens, the Rangers winning the rest of their games and the White Sox losing all but one, it's going to be the White Sox out of the West against, it looks like, the Toronto Blue Jays in the East.
It's the way it should be. They are the two best teams in the American League in their respective divisions. They split 12 games during the year, so it should be a great matchup. Let's project what it might look like from a pitcher's standpoint. Jack McDowell is a definite. Dave Stewart probably will start game one. That's not definite yet. Down at game 3, the matchup between Wilson Alvarez and Pat Hintgen is an interesting one because Alvarez had more success against Toronto than any Chicago pitcher. The Blue Jays have not played well against left-handed pitching. Kind of interesting that Tim Belcher's name missing from that rotation right now.
Yeah, as we say, this game very much in doubt. The umpires will wait until game time before making a decision. If it is called off, these two teams will play 2 games tomorrow. Head groundskeeper extraordinaire Roger Bossard showing that the area shows nothing but rainstorms, and that's the kind of day we're looking at here in Chicago. That'll do it from Comiskey Park. Let's send it back to Philadelphia and Pat O'Brien.
All right, Greg, gentlemen, thank you. Coming up on Baseball 93, you'll hear from 2 of the guys bidding to be the National League MVP, Philadelphia's Lenny Dykstra and Atlanta's Ron Gant. But before we send you to commercial, we'd like to note the loss of a friend. Ray Hickey died of cancer 2 nights ago. He was a picture editor in a business that relies on pictures, and he was one of the best. Ray used to have a little saying, a sort of gentle sarcasm. When things went wrong, he'd say, funny, funny stuff. Ray, we'd like to disagree. We don't think this one is so funny. We will miss you. Ray Hickey was 35.
The secret to a strong finish is endurance. Introducing High Endurance, new from Old Spice. A breakthrough deodorant that doesn't wear out like the other guys. Here's proof. This is a day's worth of our deodorant. See how it outlasts the leading stick even after 24 hours? Now that's endurance. For the longest lasting, hardest working, the best deodorant stick, demand proof. Get new High Endurance from Old Spice. You won't go far without it.
You can dream it. The Rebel can do it. Now EOS Rebel from Canon has more power. Over time, space, and light. To create images, not just snapshots.
Image is everything.
EOS Rebel and Rebel S from Canon, so advanced it's simple.
As a response to increasing competition, information technology was once an effective means of getting ahead. But today, almost everyone has the same technology. What Anderson Consulting has is a way to help you use technology to propel your strategy, so you can stop playing leapfrog and start playing quantum leapfrog.
My dandruff shampoo is good.
Better try something else. Mine really works.
You'd better try something else, like Selsun Blue. Doctors recommend it more than all leading brands. Selsun Blue. Doctor recommended #1.
It's never fun to eat and run, to rush and eat too fast, 'cause you know it's gonna catch up with you at last.
For acid indigestion or heartburn with headache, nothing's faster than Alka-Seltzer.
Get yourself some Alka-Seltzer and you'll feel better fast.
CBS Sports presents Major League Baseball. Baseball 93 is brought to you by Old Spice High Endurance. For long-lasting odor protection, demand proof. Get Old Spice.
Pat O'Brien back at the vet. Those of you who were supposed to see the Rangers White Sox, it's still raining in Chicago with rain forecast throughout the day, but here in Philly, well, it's just a great time to be a sports fan. The Phillies playoff bound, the Eagles 3-0, and maybe only if Stallone would come back and make Rocky 6, something like that. Great time to be here. In just 11 days, the National League Championship Series opens. More than likely, barring a Phillies meltdown, it'll start right here. And as the likely East champions wait for the winners in the West, they're probably pulling for the Braves. Checking out the head-to-head, the Phils lead the season series with Atlanta 6-4, but they're 4-8 against the Giants. Now, who's the National League MVP? Opinion says it's too close to call right now. Earlier, we spoke with 2 of the leading contenders, Lenny Dykstra and Ron Gant, down there on the field. Okay, about 45 minutes before the game. Nice to see you guys. Seems like you have your division in hand.
Well, we got off to the big start, you know, and we've held on to it pretty good. Montreal played great baseball, but you know, they had a lot to overcome. So you got to give the Expos a lot of credit. I mean, they got back in the race, but it's not over yet, and anything can happen. But we feel pretty good about our position.
Yeah. Were you ever worried? You don't look worried now.
I don't think I was ever worried. I mean, you know, we have some guys in here who haven't really won before, and they really haven't experienced that, as opposed to Ronnie over here, and they're guys, they've won before, and they know what it takes to win. So that was the only thing a little bit maybe in our minds, but you know, we got by that, and we went and did what we had to do in Montreal and came home and started off a good homestand.
I was talking to Bobby Cox earlier, and he was saying, as you know, nothing is easy this time of year. You guys find yourself only a game and a half up. What's the feeling in the clubhouse?
Well, it's tighter than what we expected it to be right now, but we still feel good about our position also. I mean, we just came into, you know, this road trip thinking that all we had to do was win a couple at each city, but it's going to be tough for us here. You know, these guys are playing great baseball, so we definitely have our work cut out for us, but we still feel like we're in good position.
Well, you're smiling anyway. Who would you rather see, Barry Bonds or their pitching staff, and him?
I don't know. I don't want to say, but they're not. Neither one of them are fun. I mean, you know, the thing about Atlanta, everybody says, you know, has always been talked about their pitching, their pitching, their pitching. And you got this guy, Justice and McGriff, with 35 plus, 100 plus. That tends to put the fear of God in a lot of pitchers. So there's not. You don't have an easy situation there either way.
We were talking about the Sports Illustrated cover here. Is he look pretty good on there? Extension, they call that, right?
Yeah, I was telling Lenny, every once in a while I get some extension, but this is probably like one of the first times that I have some type of publicity like that. And
not a jinx, is it?
No, I hope not. Right now, you know, I feel a little bit different at the plate than I did a couple weeks ago, but I'm trying to correct that right now, and hopefully it'll, you know, get corrected today.
What's been the key to your hot streak?
Well, I think after not being able to play in the World Series last year, I think I played 1 or 2 games, and I just told myself I wouldn't let that happen again, and I dedicated the offseason into working out and, you know, and having a more consistent year this year and getting back to the World Series so I could play in all the games. And, you know, with that type of attitude, you know, my consistency has been a lot better this year than it has in the past few years.
It's working. Okay, now which one of you guys is the MVP?
You know, I'm not sure, but I think right now you can't really say as a player because you still have a lot to do. We want to get to the playoffs as well as they do, and you know, you don't want to put that type of pressure on yourself as a player right now and start worrying about that. So I'm sure he wants to win it. I want to win it, but you know, we're both good players and we both deserve it.
You deserve it?
Well, I think, you know, like you said, you can make a point for everybody. Him, McGriff, Justice, obviously everyone knows Barry Bonds, even Blauser over there, and even Matt Williams has stepped into the picture. But, you know, that's a situation where you have control over it, and to a certain respect, and you don't have control over it. You know, I think the main thing that we want to do is get to the playoffs, and I think the other stuff will take care of itself. But I think the biggest award of all is to get to the playoffs, as Ronnie knows, because they've been there the last so many years. So that's what we're all looking forward to.
Good luck to both of you. Thanks.
Thank you.
See you. That's it. And what about Barry Bonds? Once the NL MVP lock. He did homer last night, as we saw earlier, but he has only 2 dingers in what has been a frustrating September. As a left-hander, Bonds will relate to our next segment, our periodic trip to the edge of the baseball universe and beyond, life as we see it from left field. Oh, Barry, you think you've had a rough September? What about the People's Republic of China? First, it's news that Chinese food is bad for your health. Then it was this shocker as the Olympic host for 2000 was chosen.
The winner is Sydney, Australia.
On the 5th ballot, it was Sydney, not favorite Beijing. Nonetheless, the Chinese politely waited because there was another important announcement regarding the game of 1996.
The winner is Philadelphia.
That's the 1996 All-Star game we're talking about, folks, which will take place right here at the Vet. Last night at Mile High, those Colorado Rockies won their 65th game, the most ever by an NL expansion team. And Rocky Mania shows no sign of abating. It's 4.3 million fans and counting at this point, already a major league record. That's more fans than the population of the Rocky Mountain State. We'll tell you that the Rockies are drawing from all over the central United States. Here's Rocky Mania for you. Tom Elder of Imperial, Nebraska. He's been to half the games, driving 3.5 hours each way.
Always check, make sure. Last thing I check is to make sure I got the tickets.
And how much are we going to miss this man? The Ryan Express. It started humming back in 1966. 27 seasons later, the longest career in baseball history, we look back in awe. This one we'd like to frame and cherish forever. In fact, we will. 53 entries in the record book, 5,714 strikeouts. Here's the record we'll all remember. 7 no-hitters. But think of this. There were also 12 one-hitters. Well, it all ended suddenly this past Wednesday night in Seattle. First inning, Ryan had failed to retire the first 5 batters. Then on that pitch, something popped in the elbow, and that was goodbye.
Obviously, I would have loved to have finished with a strong performance in a pennant race. I guess striking out the last hitter I ever faced.
Next stop for the Ryan Express, Cooperstown, 1999. Joe Carter walks, scored Ricky Henderson, and Toronto leads in the 4th, 1-0. And Baseball 93 will roll on from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, in a moment. Stay with us.
Imagine a deodorant that keeps a man feeling as clean and fresh as this all through the day. Well, this is it. It's Ban for Men. Clean and fresh because it goes on clear. And Ban for Men sets up a clear shield of protection that fights odor-causing bacteria for a full 24 hours. So feel this clean, this fresh. Try Clear Ban for Men deodorant. And now, Ban for Men comes in new antiperspirant formula. It's the first clear solid that helps keep you dry. They don't play kick the can like you used to. They don't dress the same way. They learned to read 3 years before you did. They've never owned a record. So why are you taking pictures of them with the same old film? Try Fujicolor Super G film. Because your pictures should be nostalgic. Your film shouldn't.
Here on the set, when the lights come up and the camera starts to roll, there's no place to hide. And even one flake of dandruff, even one, can ruin it all. That's why I use Head & Shoulders. You know, it's even better than it was just a couple of years ago. Today's Head & Shoulders gets to 10 times more of the places dandruff starts. Put it to the test. Prove it to yourself. Head & Shoulders and Head & Shoulders 2-in-1. Because great hair can't have flakes.
There I was, buried in forms. There she was from Xerox calling them documents. Documents? What are you talking about, I say. Store all these electronically, she says. All those files, those warehouses, get rid of them. And I seal. Electronic storage. Cutting my cost. I say, yeah, when you're talking about my documents, you're talking about my profits. Exactly, she says.
See your documents differently. Call 1-800-ASK-XEROX, the document company.
Win one of 5,000 Big Red Boat family cruises or $1 million instantly. Play the CBS Kmart Premier Party giveaway. Play tonight.
Take you inside Veterans Stadium. These plaques commemorate the Phillies' finest. Jim Bunning's up there. In 1964, he pitched a perfect game in what would be an imperfect season for these 1993 Phillies. The magic number is a measly 4 games, but this is one town which fully understands that famous Yogiism, it ain't over till it's over. It was over in 1964 when the Phillies had a 6.5 game lead with 12 to play, but then incredibly, the team lost 10 straight. 1964, Ali was Clay, the Prez was LBJ. We all had dreams of MLK, and that Fab Four from the UK. In baseball, the word was Mayday. The first place Phillies, like the Titanic, they began sinking mysteriously.
I'll never forget how it started. Chico Ruiz stealing home. If our pitcher, who was Art Mahaffey, would have thrown a strike, it would have been the 3rd out and nothing would have happened.
Well, it happened so fast. I mean, the pressure by the 4th or 5th game was unbelievable, but remember, it was only 10 in a row. It wasn't a whole month. I mean, you just couldn't believe that the other teams were winning every game and we were losing every game.
To lose 10 in a row, it takes a total team effort. Both the pitching went sour, the hitting went sour, and the fielding went sour.
As the season curdled, these once confident Phillies started measuring the painful cost.
I had purchased $2,500 worth of World Series tickets. So did all the guys. Jim Bunning pitched a perfect game that year.
And he put off all the endorsements till the end of the season.
We should have won because of the lead we had. We should have been able to figure out a way to win with a 6.5 game lead with 12 to play. We didn't. Therefore, we're the Fizz kids.
And they're still talking about it. In a moment, you'll be hearing from our very own witness to history, Tim McCarver, whose Cardinals raced past those Fizz kids in '64. McCarver and Sean McDonough, they're next with the Braves Phillies. Also, this note, it's raining in Chicago. Those of you supposed to see Texas Chicago will instead see the Braves, and the Phillies will keep you posted on conditions out in the Windy City. We're coming back right after this message and a word from your very own local station. Enjoy the baseball, everybody.
Last night, the Atlanta Braves were a little out of sync. No, they weren't feeling blue, but green, as the Phillies' Tommy Green chopped up the Braves, allowing only 3 hits in 8 1/3 innings. But it was the wild thing, Mitch Williams, who applied the final strike in the Phillies' 3-0 win. Today, it's the battle of division leaders, Atlanta versus Philadelphia, as CBS Sports presents Major League Baseball. This afternoon, here at the sold-out Vet, the Phillies will try to take another step toward their first division title in 10 years as they host the Braves in Game 2 of a 3-game series. The best race in baseball was in the National League West. The Giants picked up a game last night. They're only a game and a half out and only 1 back in the loss column. The Braves' magic number is 8. Meanwhile, the Phillies reduced their magic number to 4 last night. They lead Montreal by 6 games with 9 left to play. Hello, everyone, and welcome. I'm Sean McDonough along with Tim McCarver, and it's great to have you with us. For those of you expecting to see Texas and Chicago, it is still raining in the Windy City. We'll keep you posted. Meanwhile, here in Philadelphia, the fans no longer have visions of 1964 dancing through their heads. It seems the Phils have a firm grasp on the title in the National League East. No team has ever blown a 6-game lead with 9 games remaining. But the race is very tight in the National League West. The Braves for so long, the Hunters, now the Hunted, and the Giants have won 7 out of 8.
So we thought it would be appropriate to take a look at the schedules remaining. First for the Atlanta Braves. They have 8 games remaining. Of course, this afternoon, tomorrow afternoon at Philadelphia. They are off on Monday, and then they play the Houston Astros on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. The interesting thing, the pitching matchups that the Astros are going to fire at the Braves. Pete Harnisch, Darryl Kyle, and Doug Drabeck. On Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, the Braves will play the Colorado Rockies, a team against whom they are 10-0. The San Francisco Giants, on the other hand, have 9 games to play. Today, Sunday, Monday, they play the San Diego Padres. They played and beat the San Diego Padres last night in 10 innings. Tuesday and Wednesday, they also play the Colorado Rockies. But on Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, they play the Los Angeles Dodgers, their arch rivals. So I think it's fair to say that the Braves are going to have the tougher schedule until Thursday, when the Braves will meet the Colorado Rockies next weekend, and the Giants will be visiting Los Angeles. Always a tough task.
And it's the Phillies with a tough task today as they go up against 15-game winner John Smoltz. He makes the start for Atlanta. He'll be opposed by veteran lefty Danny Jackson. We'll have the first pitch from Philadelphia right after this.
CBS Sports presents Major League Baseball. Today's game is brought to you by Toyota and their full line of quality cars and trucks. Toyota, I love what you do for me. MCI, the company that brings you proof positive. And by New Band for Men, the clear deodorant that keeps a man feeling clean and fresh.
Heimacher Schlemmer is a catalog company.
It was established in 1848. We are the first one to introduce the toaster, the electric shaver.
They had been an AT&T customer for over 100 years. Now they're with MCI.
They said, tell us about your stores, tell us about your products. And they came up with a great package. They try to understand their customers' needs, and then they customize that package so that the customer truly benefits from service to savings or the attention that we need to get. MCI is the only choice.
Imagine a deodorant that keeps a man feeling as clean and fresh as this all through the day. Well, this is it. It's Band for Men. Clean and fresh because it goes on clear. And Band for Men sets up a clear shield of protection that fights odor-causing bacteria for a full 24 hours. So feel this clean, this fresh. Try Clear Band for Men deodorant. And now, Ban for Men comes a new antiperspirant formula. It's the first clear solid that helps keep you dry.
It was my first serious dinner at his family's. So much food.
This is Greg's favorite dish.
And my first serious heartburn. And I learned some things.
Oh, no, these are different. Tums has calcium.
Most antacids don't. Of all these, the only one that helps wipe out heartburn and gives you calcium you need every day is Tums.
Something my body needs anyway. I like that.
Calcium-rich Tums.
Ever wonder what happens to your initial investment when you buy certain mutual funds through a broker and pay front-end fees? Well, by the time they charge you sales loads and account fees, it's actually costing you hundreds of dollars before you start. But now there's a better way. At Charles Schwab, you can choose from 200 well-known no-load mutual funds with proven track records.
You pay no loads and no transaction fees.
So if you want all of your money to work for you,
maybe it's time to come to Schwab.
The starting lineup today for Bobby Cox and the Atlanta Braves. Otis Nixon leads off in center field. Jeff Blauser is the shortstop batting second. Batting third and playing left field, Ron Gant. The cleanup hitter is the first baseman, Fred McGriff. Terry Pendleton batting fifth at third base. Or third at fifth base, depending on how you look at it. David Justice is the right fielder batting sixth. A late change in the lineup. Originally Greg Olson was catching, but now it's Damon Berryhill catching and batting seventh. Mark Lemke is the second baseman hitting eighth. And the pitcher, John Smoltz, bats ninth. The Phillies just now taking the field. Before a sellout crowd, they went over the 3 million mark in home attendance here last night for the first time in their history.
They have had a phenomenal year here in the city of brotherly love. Usually left field and right field platoon positions for the Phillies. Milt Thompson in left. Lenny Dykstra. A lot of people in baseball think he should be the MVP instead of either Ron Gant or Barry Bonds. We'll see. Jim Eisenreich has been a valuable addition to Jim Fragosi's squad. He'll be in right field. Dave Hollins, a switch hitting third baseman. And Kevin Stocker, who filled a very, very important hole at shortstop about midseason. Mickey Morandini is in there. Mariano Duncan is sitting today against the right-hander. John Kruk, what a zany character the Krucker is at first base. And Darren Dalton, who is starting his 138th game behind the plate. He leads all major league catchers in starts and games played. Danny Jackson with a career record of 93 and 103. That's 10 games under 500, but he has a chance to play in his fourth postseason with his fourth different team. Kansas City in '85, Cincinnati in 1990, Pittsburgh the next year, or Pittsburgh last year, I should say, and this year with the Philadelphia Phillies. He is a money pitcher, a guy that the Phillies depend on a great deal.
The umpires working the ball game. Charlie Williams calls the balls and strikes. Frank Pulley at first, Joe West at second, and Gary Darling has the plays at third. The Atlanta Braves have watched the San Francisco Giants creep back into it. Once the Braves zoomed past San Francisco, their largest lead was 4, but it's been trimmed to a game and a half as San Francisco won in dramatic fashion at the Stick last night, while the Braves were shut out by Tommy Green and Mitch Williams here at the Vet last night.
Sean, if the Braves do win it, I think the one thing that they will be able to point to is their remarkable play on the road. They are 27 and 33. Their last 33 games on the road, they've won 27. Remarkable.
Otis Nixon stands in to get this one started. He's a switch hitter, batting .259 overall, and it really doesn't matter from which side of the plate he hits. Danny Jackson's first pitch, a called strike over the outside corner. 74 degrees the game time temperature. Under mostly cloudy skies. There is the chance of rain here later on, but they don't expect it during the ball game. It is still raining in Chicago for those of you expecting to see the Rangers and the White Sox. We'll keep you posted as to the weather situation there. It isn't very promising. Nixon quickly ahead 0-2. Nixon slapped it to short. Stocker double clutched and didn't get it there in time. He had trouble getting the ball out of his glove, and by the time he did, he couldn't get Nixon, who runs well.
The ball hit the seam, it seemed, right past second base. You will see this ball hit the seam, and instead of taking a predictable hop, it stays down, and that's the reason that Stocker double clutched. The Phillies have had 39 errors out of their shortstop position. That's the most in the major leagues. The second, interestingly, the Montreal Expos have had 38 errors at that position.
That one scored a hit, so Nixon is aboard with nobody out. And he draws a throw. Otis very much a threat to run with 43 stolen bases. He has only been thrown out 12 times. He's fourth in the league in steals. Jeff Blauser at the plate hitting .303. Jackson, practitioner of the slide step, hit the outside part of the plate with strike one.
Most left-handers do not need a slide step home to keep a runner close at first base. The right-handers, it's imperative to be deceptive, but not necessarily so a left-hander, as you see Toronto trying to make it 3 in a row over the Yankees.
And a frightening prospect for the Chicago White Sox, the Blue Jays' likely opponent in the American League Championship Series. The Toronto pitching, which has been outstanding over the last 3 weeks. Dave Stewart has picked it up. Todd Stottlemyre had a shutout earlier in the week against Boston. Guzman and Henkin have been terrific all year long.
Even though Jack Morris out for the season.
And perhaps for his career. He hopes to come back, but he has an elbow injury that will keep him on the shelf for the rest of the season. Morris has 1 year remaining on his contract with the Blue Jays at $5 million. Toronto can buy him out of next year's deal for $1 million, and it's likely that is the path they will take. Nixon running. The pitch, a ball. Dalton's throw goes into center field. Backed up by Dykstra, and Nixon will remain at second. So it's stolen base number 44 for Otis Nixon, and he's in scoring position with nobody out in the top of the first.
It was a good read by Nixon. The minute Jackson picked that foot up, he didn't slide step that time. Darren Dalton forced to throw from a flat-footed position, and the throw is high. He got under the ball. It sails away from Stocker, and Nixon has stolen base number 44 on the year.
Otis still among the league leaders in stolen bases at age 35. 1-1 is the count on Blauser. He pops up a bunt toward first. Kruk the sliding catch. Well, moments ago at a press conference, George Brett announced that this will be his final season as a major league player. He will join the Royals organization in a yet to be determined front office capacity. Brett, at the moment, a .305 career average. He is the holder of 3 batting titles, as Pat O'Brien told you on Baseball 93. Those titles came in 3 different decades. He says when you're used to hitting 300, when you're hitting 260, you don't feel like you're contributing. George has said all along, if he doesn't feel he's contributing, he doesn't want to play. Ryan Gant, the batter. He has been contributing and then some to the Braves' late season surge up to 276. He has 35 homers and 113 runs batted in, 21 of those ribbies in the last 12 games.
Speaking of plays, I thought it was overly cautious for Jeff Blauser to be bunting with a runner on at second base and nobody out in the first inning. And I think that's what happens to teams in a race. When things get tighter, they're more inclined to play for 1 run. And I think you ought to take the reverse approach. Try to bust things open early, then you can relax.
Yeah, you had a 300 hitter at the plate. You have a runner already in scoring position. Some very hot hitters coming up behind Blauser. think they'd let him swing away. Perhaps Jeff did it on his own. In either event, it is interesting strategy, certainly conservative.
Yeah, Jeff leading the Braves in hitting on the road, a .337 road average, plus he's facing a left-handed pitcher. So the odds dramatically up with a right-hander against a left-hander.
Ball high to Gant, and the count is 3-1 with first base open. And the left-handed hitting Fred McGriff waiting on deck. Gant was 0 for 4 in the first game of this series last night. He was swinging away on the 3-1 pitch, and it's out of play, a full count. Gant now tied with his teammate David Justice for the league lead in runs batted in with 113 apiece. The last duo to finish 1-2 in the race for an RBI title, George Foster, who had 121, Joe Morgan, who had 111 for the Cincinnati Big Red Machine of 1976.
I guess you could call this the Big Red Pinstripe Machine.
Chopped foul over the third base dugout. Nixon at second with 1 out. No score, just underway in the top of the first. Game 2 of a 3-game series. And perhaps a preview of the National League Championship Series. Bobby Cox hopes that it will be. His team trying to three-peat in the National League West, but the Giants have tightened it up. Nixon going, it is caught by Hollins, and an easy double play. He puts the tag on Otis, ending the inning.
That's 4 outs in this inning. He tagged him and then went to second.
We wanted to make sure. We're back after this.
This is your life, and not a bad one at that. You find the things that work for you, and you stick with them. Like your Toyota Extra Cab Deluxe. It has the power and the payload you need. Plus a reputation for dependability that's a well-known fact. All the signs of a great relationship.
You've seen it before. The ones who run with the herd, and the one who always seems to run alone. You don't see him often enough, though.
A 40-year-old woman who loves a kid cereal. Just doesn't add up.
Brave adults challenge the notion that Kellogg's Frosted Flakes are just for kids.
I face 5 alarmers, and I can't face my 5-year-old at breakfast.
Proving again that even the most courageous can't resist that sweet crunch in cold milk.
I love them, but I can't tell you why.
The secret's out. Frosted Flakes have the taste adults have grown to love. They're great.
Situation where Otis Nixon had too good a jump. This ball really scorched. A nice play by Hollins. And Dave gets up, and because Nixon is on the bag, he has a tough time trying to tag him initially. So that's the 3rd out, and then he runs over to second to get the 4th out of the inning. Nice play by Hollins, and a break for the Phillies.
And the lineup for the Phillies this afternoon. Len Dykstra leads off in center field. Batting second and playing second base, Mickey Morandini. John Kruk is batting third at first base. The cleanup hitter is the third baseman, Dave Hollins. The catcher, Darren Dalton, bats fifth. Jim Eisenreich is the right fielder hitting sixth. The left fielder, Milt Thompson, bats seventh. Kevin Stocker at short hits eighth. And the pitcher, Danny Jackson, bats ninth against John Smoltz. The Texas-Chicago game has been postponed by rain. They'll play a doubleheader tomorrow. So those of you who expected to see that game will see this one instead. And you watch John Smoltz go after the Philadelphia Phillies.
John, 15-10 on the year, a 3.39 ERA. The Braves staff, no surprise, they lead the National League in earned run average as a group, 3.09 team ERA.
Len Dykstra leads off, hitting .309. That has him just out of the top 10 in the league in hitting. But he's at or near the top in many statistical categories. He leads the league in runs scored and in hits. And last night, during a couple of his at-bats, the sellout crowd here was chanting MVP. The 0-1 from Smoltz, a breaking ball, hammered foul.
Lenny, the leader in the National League, runs scored. He leads the majors, as a matter of fact, 139 runs scored. Barry Bonds second with 119. The only player since 1940 to score more than 140 runs a year, Ricky Henderson in 85, and the thumper Teddy Ballgame in 49.
Barring unforeseen circumstances, Dykstra will most certainly reach 140 plus. Smoltz didn't reach the plate with that pitch, and it's 1-2 on Dykstra.
If you're interested, Babe Ruth scored the most runs ever in 1921, a major league record, 177 runs scored, and that was 2 years before the Yankees moved into Yankee Stadium.
They played at the Polo Grounds. No score as the Phillies bat in the bottom of the first. Chopped to first. McGriff flips to Smoltz. You could hear the Atlanta dugout run get over, yell get over, and Smoltz did run over there.
Take a look at the rest of the defense for the Braves. Ron Gant, the left fielder, Otis Nixon in center field, and David Justice, the right fielder. Terry Pendleton at third base, Jeff Blauser at short, Mark Lemke at second base, Fred McGriff at first, and Greg Olson behind the plate.
Mickey Morandini, the batter. Up the middle, a hit. Morandini wastes no time in extending his hitting streak to 11 straight. Phillies have been getting great production from their second baseman, Mariano Duncan, who played last night, had an 18-game hitting streak snapped in that ball game, and Morandini's now hitting 11 in a row.
And it's a lot tougher for Morandini because he plays sparingly. He did, however, fill in for Mariano Duncan on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday nights, when Duncan served time on the suspended list for charging a pitcher about a month ago.
Now John Kruk, who was slumping for a while, but he has shown signs of coming out of it. Ball one low and into Kruk. He's hitting .315. That's the 7th highest batting average in the National League. He has 7 hits in his last 4 games after a prolonged slump, but even with this slump, his average has not dipped below .309 at any point since the end of the '91 season.
And you can see how they play John Kruk. Otis Nixon about 15 feet to the right of the straightaway position.
Kruk goes against the shift and pulls it into right. Morandini continues toward third. The throw from Justice, not in time.
Kruk's one of those guys that pulls on the ground and hits the ball in the air the other way. He is a very, very difficult hitter to defense because of that. Outfield shifted around to the left, and Kruk pops one in the hole. Morandini to third. Strong throw by David Justice, but a bit offline. Terry Pendleton had to come off the bag to make the catch.
So first and third with 1 out for Philadelphia. No score in the bottom of the first. And the batter is Dave Hollins. He's a switch hitter, batting .273 overall. He's a much better hitter right-handed. He's only hitting .241 from the left side as compared to his .328 average batting right-handed. There have been those here in Philadelphia who have suggested that Hollins should abandon switch hitting, go exclusively to right-handed hitting. Jim Fregosi says that has never been discussed. by the Phillies coaching staff. Big swing and a miss. That pitch clocked at 94 miles per hour on our radar gun down below.
That's the one thing about Smoltz. He gives you so many eye levels as a hitter to look at. He's got the high riding fastball, the splitter that's down, and the slider and the curve.
That's well hit, base hit. And the Phillies take at least a 1-0 lead. That's trying to get to the wall. Cut off by Nixon on his knees. They'll send Kruk. Lemke with the relay throw to the plate. Offline, safe. And the Phillies lead 2-0.
A low fastball rifled into right center field by Hollins. A fine play by Otis Nixon to cut it off, but he loses his balance right here. By the time he recovers, the relay throw is low, a one-hopper to Mark Lemke, and Kruk just beats the throw. That's fine coaching by Larry Boa, even with one out and Dalton coming up. Boa waving Kruk home. He's not a fast runner, but he's a good base runner.
He scored all the way from first. This from a man who admitted on the David Letterman show a couple of nights ago that he hates to play in Colorado because he gets too winded while running the bases.
So I guess he'd have been out in Colorado.
He probably would have been. He said when he gets to the plate and slides in Colorado, he just sticks because he has no momentum left.
He calls it a stick out there.
And their string of not being shut out will continue as they're on the board with 2 runs on 3 straight hits, and 2 runs batted in for Hollins, giving him 91 for the year. 2 singles and a double, and a runner in scoring position. Still only 1 out. A swing and a miss by Darren Dalton for 1 strike. He's at 255, 24 homers, and 103 runs batted in. That RBI total has him 5th in the National League. Called by home plate umpire Charlie Williams. And Olson goes to the mound. We mentioned that we had been informed of a lineup change and that Damon Berryhill was going to start behind the plate, but obviously that change did not take place as Olson is behind the plate for Bobby Cox. You can tell by the expressions already that we've seen from Cox and others in the Braves dugout, and even on Jim Fragosi's face as well when we saw him. These 2 teams, neither of them feel secure in their situation.
Well, especially the Atlanta Braves, only 1 ahead of the Giants in the loss column. The Giants playing in about a half an hour at Candlestick against San Diego. Oh, good play by Olson. Whenever a breaking ball breaks and hits in front of the plate and a catcher knocks it down, it means it's higher up on the chest protector. Watch his play by Olson. Well, that's a fine play right there. Smoltz has led the majors in wild pitches over the last 4 years with 63.
1-1 pitch down the line and hit the bag and goes by McGriff. Then it appeared to get a piece of the first base umpire Frank Pulley. Hollins in to score to make it 3-0.
If the Phillies get breaks like this a week from next Wednesday against either the Atlanta Braves or the San Francisco Giants, they could change the odds in that playoffs. I think they're going to be the underdog against either the Giants or the Braves. But think about it. Dave Hollins makes the catch with Nixon running in the top of the first. That's a big break. And now the ball hitting the bag, a ball that clearly would have been fielded by McGriff.
Then the Braves caught a break when it hit Frank Pulley, because if it hadn't, it might have had enough steam to get way down into that right field corner. Instead, they were able to stop Dalton at first after an RBI single, his 104th RBI of the year. So the Phils off to a quick 3-0 lead. They went ahead 3-0 last night in the 2nd inning. 6th batter of the inning is Jim Eisenreich, hitting .333. Dalton draws a throw. He is not a candidate to run. He has managed 5 stolen bases over the year, despite the creaky knees.
5 operations, 2 on his right knee, 3 on his left knee.
2-0 on Eisenreich. Olsen again to the mound. And Bobby Cox again wearing an expression of pressure. Things a little more free and easy on the other side with a 6-game lead and 9 games remaining. And a 3-0 lead today. Well hit left center. Otis Nixon has room just in front of the track. Two outs. Dalton still at first. 3-0 Phils in the bottom of the first.
This winter, the Philadelphia Phillies criticized by some fans and the press here for not signing big-name free agents. But what they did, they added guys like Eisenreich and Cavilla. Guys like that. Milt Thompson, his second tenure with Philadelphia. They have really strengthened their bench. Pete Cavilla with 93 hits, 87 RBIs. Talk about maximizing production off the pine.
One strike on Milt Thompson. He's been dividing time when both he and Cavilla have been healthy in left field with Inky. He returned to action last night, coming back from a calf muscle pull suffered 11 days ago. Fastball just low and plenty on it from Smoltz. Early in his career, Smoltz had considerable success against Philadelphia. Lately, the Phils have had the upper hand when facing Smoltz. John hasn't defeated the Phillies since 1990. His lifetime mark against Philadelphia, 5-4. Chop foul. Still 2-2 on Milt Thompson. Bill, one of several Phillies who has not participated in postseason play. Same could not be said of Sid Bream, one of the postseason heroes the last couple of years for Atlanta, now relegated to the role of bench player with the arrival of Fred McGriff. Fastball on the corner for a call on strike 3. First strikeout of the ball game gets Smoltz out of the inning. Not before the Phils strike for 3 runs on 4 hits. They lead 3-0 after 1.
This is hydroplaning in less than an inch of water, and they're being pulled by Goodyear all-season AquaTread radials. AquaTread's deep groove design channels water away as you drive for outstanding traction. Hydroplaning, AquaTreading. Think about it.
The secret to a strong finish is endurance. New High Endurance. Just watch how a day's worth of our deodorant outlasts the leading stick even after 24 hours. For the longest lasting, the best deodorant stick, demand proof. Get New High Endurance from Old Spice.
For everyone working to provide safe haven and a better life for those they love, there is an independent traveler's agent there to help protect what you worked so hard to achieve. For everyone challenged by economic uncertainty, there is a traveler's agent there with a customized plan for your financial future. For everyone in America striving to safeguard a dream, there is a partner. Your independent traveler's agent. The Travelers, America's umbrella.
When I slide into home, it's like 2 trains colliding. I'm the big train.
All men are created equal. Some just work harder in the preseason.
I got a new taste that's pure delight.
right. New Pringles sour cream and onion light. That's right. Rich sour cream and tangy onion. Mmm, that taste is really something, cause the dip is in the chips, so delicious on your lips. Look, compare Pringles to regular chips. Pringles have less fat and they're less greasy too. The proof's in front of you. So grab a bunch of this, not that, and get a whole lot of taste and less of the fat. New Pringles sour cream and onion light. That's right. Once you pop, you can't stop.
You're watching CBS Sports coverage of Major League Baseball.
The Atlanta Braves at 48-17 since the All-Star break, the best record in the majors over that stretch, and really most of the teams that are in contention at or near the top of their divisions have played very well. The Blue Jays have come on lately. They've won 10 of their last 11. It's a rough first inning for John Smoltz. He gave up 3 runs on 4 hits, had to throw 22 pitches. And facing 7 men. The Braves bat against Danny Jackson, trailing 3-0. Fred McGriff, the leadoff hitter. At 289, 35 homers, 95 knocked in. He's played in 60 games for Atlanta. And in those 60, has hit 17 home runs, has driven in 49, and has hit .308. Very high, shallow left. Milt Thompson in. Earlier we mentioned that George Brett announced his retirement today. Here's a look at his press conference.
Last week I have found out that baseball executives do not make as much money as players. And I was shocked to hear that. So after 5 days of some serious soul searching, I have decided to retire. I've always said I would not play the game for money. And I think my decision is true for Pat.
Indeed it is. He'll join the Royals in a front office capacity to be determined. 5 years from now, he'll be at Cooperstown. Terry Pendleton, the batter. 2 strikes to count as he has fouled off the 0-1 pitch. Sends the 0-2 down the right field line, slicing into the seats. You have to admire him for doing that, because so many players would hang around with the chance to make another $2 or $3 million next year. But I mentioned earlier, George says if he can't contribute to the extent that he thinks he should, he doesn't want to play.
Baseball, a game that gives guys a chance to extend their childhood into their late 30s. Then when you walk away, you more or less enter a man's world.
Another man who had a lengthy childhood to age 46, 27 major league seasons, Nolan Ryan. And certainly the end of his career was a bit anticlimactic the other night in Seattle when he blew out his elbow, bringing an abrupt end to what will also be a Hall of Fame career 5 years from now. Terry Pendleton strikes out for the second out of the second. First strikeout of the ball game for Danny Jackson.
Danny Jackson's 2 best pitches: slider inside to right-handers, fastball down and away to right-handers. This is a nasty slider. The slider moving parallel to the ground. He does throw a curveball that breaks down to the ground, but it's not nearly as effective as his slider.
Now David Justice, tied for the league lead with his teammate Gant, and runs batted in with 113, and Justice tied with Matt Williams of San Francisco for second in the league in homers, behind Barry Bonds, 41. Jackson fooled him. Toronto still leads New York 1-0. Justice to center. Dykstra drifting back with room. And the Braves go in order in the second. After an inning and a half in Philadelphia, the Phillies 3, the Braves nothing.
You're looking at tinea pedis, commonly known as athlete's foot. But what's not commonly known is many types of fungus cause it. And to cure it all, you've got to kill it all. But today, there's a full prescription-strength medicine, the one most recommended by doctors, Lotrimin AF. The broad-spectrum power of Lotrimin AF doesn't just get some athlete's foot fungus, it kills it all. Lotrimin AF, the cure that gets it all.
Why do people really like Toyota Paseo? Take this home lie detector test. I like Paseo because A, it's practical, has a driver's side airbag, or B, women dig it. A, it has 100 horsepower performance, or B, women dig it. A, Paseo starts under $11,800, or B, women dig it. Paseo, a very practical car from Toyota.
Yep.
Emma?
I ain't getting that. He can get his own ball. Mister! Don't you got a football game to go to?
You're unbelievable. You're so unbelievable. You're unbelievable. You're unbelievable.
A message from Major League Baseball.
Back at the vet, another sellout crowd on hand, and tomorrow's game is also a sellout here in the final home game of the season for Philadelphia. We mentioned that last night the Phils went over the 3 million mark in home attendance for the first time in their history, and they honored the occasion by rewarding the 3 millionth fan to pass through the turnstiles. And that was a memorable event for a couple of longtime Phillies fans we'll tell you about during the inning. First batter of the inning is Kevin Stocker. It's the bottom of the second. The Phils batting with a 3-0 lead. Stocker, Jackson, and Dykstra due up. As Tim mentioned, Stocker called upon at midseason to solidify the middle of the infield, and what he has done with the bat has been a real bonus. Pendleton reaches into the stands to make the play.
Yes, Sean, it was pretty good when the 3 millionth fan came through the turnstile, and who was there to meet her but Bill Giles, the Chief Executive Officer, 19% owner of the Phillies. He put the deal together back in 1981 when Ruly Carpenter, the former owner, sold the team. Nice play by Pendleton as he reaches in to that 3 million plus season attendance.
Now Danny Jackson is just 5 for 60 at the plate this year. The couple selected, and obviously it's not scientific. They tried to roughly guess when the 3 millionth fan would come through. It was at 6:19 last night. Gil and Norma Tower, they say they've been Phillies fans for more than 40 years. They live in nearby Rose Tree, Pennsylvania. They were greeted at the gate by Bill Giles, the Phillies president, and the Philly fanatic. They were handed round-trip tickets to an island in the Caribbean. Mrs. Tower was also presented with a bouquet of roses, and after talking to the fanatic and Mr. Giles for a while, she turned to Mr. Giles and said, "By the way, who are you?" So fans for 40 years but weren't familiar with Bill Giles. They're familiar with him now and delighted to accept the trip to St. Lucia. The 1-2 to Jackson is up and in. She did know who the Philly fanatic was. She probably could also recognize Darren Dalton. Fastball and he blew it right by him for the second out of the inning and second strikeout of the ball game for John Smoltz.
John Smoltz second in the National League as far as strikeouts are concerned. Jose Rijo leads the league. Smoltz with his 2 this afternoon has 197. But Smoltz is also second in the league in walks to Ramon Martinez of the Dodgers. However, on the positive side again, he's has the second lowest rate of hits per game. Per 9 innings, only a little more than 7 hits a game. This Atlanta staff is awesome. They're young. They have the youngest pitching staff in the National League, and none of the top 4 guys has ever been on the disabled list. Average age of the top 4 guys, the Fab Four, as the fans in Atlanta call them, 26 years, 11 months.
They're all committed contractually to the Braves for several more seasons. Lenny Dykstra up there with a count of 1 strike and now a ball. He started the first inning harmlessly enough by grounding out. Then the next 4 Phillies each had a hit, and 3 men crossed the plate. It's 3-0 Philadelphia. That's Dykstra's nickname, Nails. He wrote a book entitled Nails. Did you read it?
No, I didn't.
He was one of, what, 14 or 15 Mets after the 1986 season who wrote a book.
Very fashionable. You know, the one thing Lenny does take a lot of pride in, however, is that when he started out with the Mets, they were not a good team. They became a good team, certainly in large part due to him, Strawberry, and good. Same thing with the Phillies.
That's down the right field line. Justice does not have a play.
Dykstra obtained by the Phillies back in 1989 along with Roger McDowell for Juan Samuel. He has been a main cog in the Phillies machine since then.
John Smoltz, part of that youthful Atlanta pitching corps. He's only 26. It's 1-2 pitch to Dykstra, popped foul the other way. Lenny leads the majors in runs scored. He leads the National League in hits, walks, at bats. He's tied for first in games played, third in on base percentage, third in doubles, fifth in multiple hit games, ninth in steals, third in total bases. That is the ammunition those in this area use to support his candidacy for National League MVP. Little looper right field. Justice will have to play it on a hop. And Dykstra adds to his league leading hit total. That's number 188.
Dykstra is such a tough out. He is the best 2-strike hitter in the National League. Smoltz jams him. Little looper in the right field. He doesn't strike out a lot. Even with his credentials and the credentials of Gant, Justice, McGriff, I still think Barry Bonds is a leading candidate for the MVP.
I agree with you. Mickey Morandini, the batter. He started the 3-run rally in the first inning with a single to center. He scored the first of the 3 runs. 1 strike on Morandini. Well, the shortstop position was a little bit shaky for the Phils defensively prior to the arrival of Kevin Stocker. Second base has been pretty well taken care of. Morandini, second among all National League second basemen in fielding percentage. He's only made 4 errors all year and has played 66 straight games now without an error. The ball low and in. Infield down to third. No swing, says Gary Darling. Larry Boa is the third base coach for Philadelphia.
Mel Roberts over at first base. Mel Roberts, by the way, the only non-former manager on the coaching pass today. Larry Boa was a manager for the San Diego Padres. And then Jimmy Williams, the manager of the Toronto Blue Jays, he's the third base coach for Atlanta. And Pat Corrales managed here in Philadelphia. An odd thing, when he was let go back in 1983, he was in first place by half a game. But things were bunched together. I think 2.5 games separated 4 teams, but a lot of people thought that was a bit unfair to Pat.
Well hit center field, but Nixon is there. He was playing over in left center. Covered the ground to end the inning. We've played 2 at the vet in Philadelphia. The Phillies lead 3-0.
The Battles of October, coming to CBS.
Imagine a deodorant that keeps a man feeling as fresh as this. It's Ban for Men, the clear deodorant that fights odor-causing bacteria for 24 hours. And now there's new Ban for Men antiperspirant. It's the first clear solid that helps keep you dry.
Some people get nasal congestion, but if you get sinus congestion, use a sinus spray like Sinex. Only Sinex has a decongestant plus Vicks Vapors, so you can feel your swollen passages open up. For sinus, think Sinex.
You can combine wiener dogs and drag racing, luge and bowling, sumo and high dive, even lawyers and rodeo. In fact, if you can combine great taste and less filling, you can combine just about anything. But nothing can be combined with drinking irresponsibly. That just isn't funny. Miller Lite reminds you to please think when you drink.
If you care about this big, beautiful world, show me.
Don't give me another toxic antifreeze.
Give me something different. Don't just tell me how it protects to 70 below.
And guards against rust?
Any antifreeze can do that. Tell me it's safer for my dog, my family, the kids.
Tell me nothing protects better.
And it's biodegradable.
That's what I want to know.
That's what I want to hear.
New Sierra. It's not just antifreeze, it's safety freeze.
We're gonna miss the boat!
Both Visa and American Express Gold cards can get you to Great Guana Cay in the Bahamas. But should there be trouble in paradise?
Honey, we missed the boat!
What do we do
Only
now?
Visa Gold can come to your rescue because the only hotel on Great Guana Cay doesn't take American Express.
I know that guy.
Visa Gold, it's everywhere you want to be.
The Philadelphia Phillies have grown up as an organization and the town as a city. That's the William Penn statue on top of City Hall. And it used to be about 5 years ago that no building in downtown Philadelphia could be higher than Willie Penn. But up until about 5 to 7 years ago, they built some skyscrapers, and now 3 buildings are higher than our friend Bill.
Yeah, I was going to ask if you were acquainted with Willie, or Bill as you called him, Mr. Penn.
Those are the 3 big guys. Big guys right there.
Yeah. I was noticing that when we drove in yesterday, not a big skyline in downtown Philadelphia, for one of the nation's largest cities. And an uninvited guest at second base.
He probably lives right near William Penn statue, I would think. Sometimes you're a pigeon, sometimes you're a statue.
That's correct. In this case, they're trying to shoo our director, Bob Dekas, back into the truck. Our producer, Bob Dekas. Greg Olson is the batter. Hitting .226. Now, we don't show fans running on the field so as not to encourage others to do the same. Does this mean we have just encouraged other pigeons? Down to third and through Hollins. Olson's going to try it. Milt Thompson with the throw. Safe at second. And the throwman on the money. Olson was in big trouble, but it was to the right field side of the bag. And he was able to slide around the tag of Morandini. And the Braves have the lead man in scoring position.
Good base running by Greg Olson. A tough chance for Dave Hollins. He tries to short hop it. He may have been better served had he tried to backhand that ball. But you're right, Sean, that ball on the center field side, and Olson has a double. Had it been on the money, he could have been out. Boy, that's a good shot.
It has been scored a hit, a double for Olson, the second Atlanta hit of the ball game. 10th double of the year for Olson. Mark Lemke is the hitter. Tough to tell where that one missed. It's ball one to Lemke. He's a switch hitter, batting from his stronger side of the plate. He's hit .301 right-handed, .254 overall.
He also leads all Braves batters against the Phillies this year, batting .412.
Pitch handcuffed Dalton. Another pitch that just missed. 2-0 the count on Lemke. The pitcher Smoltz on deck.
Both lineups very strong, very well balanced, especially since Atlanta is getting such terrific production out of Lemke in the 8-hole and Blauser in the 2-hole, along with their catching core, who can supply some surprising power, both Olson and Berryhill.
2-0 to Lemke is low. Jackson had some control trouble in his last outing. That was at Montreal. He wound up walking 3 batters in the first inning. Settled down with his control thereafter. Got no decision in the 6-5 Montreal win. He has just walked Lemke on 4 pitches.
In that game, his first 10 pitches were balls. He walked the first 2 batters against Montreal. So Danny Jackson is plagued with sporadic wildness, as evidenced there by a walk to Lemke with a 3-run lead. That drives pitching coaches and managers crazy. They don't mind the walks in particular, but when you have a 3-run cushion, they're doubly worse.
Obvious sacrifice situation for Smoltz. And he took the 5th straight ball thrown by Jackson. Jimmy Williams through the signs for Smoltz and the base runners.
What you try to do here is make the third baseman field the ball. Hollins was laying back there. Kruk was charging. You try to get the third baseman to field the ball. The Phils will not have the wheel play on, I don't think. They'll play it straight up. And the reason for that, you have a 3-run lead. You don't want to take chances. You play conservatively on defense when you're up by 3.
Darren Dalton, widely acknowledged as the leader of this Philadelphia team among the players, out to the mound for a little pep talk to Danny Jackson. He is now missed with his last 6 pitches.
Six straight balls by Jackson. Sometimes it depends on where a pitcher is wild. If a pitcher's wild up and away, for instance, to right-handed batters, you as a catcher try to bring your target down and in to a right-hander. Jackson, for the most part, has been wild up and away.
And now low. 3-0 on Smoltz. All he wants to do is sacrifice, but Jackson may give Smoltz the bonus of reaching base without making it out.
Yeah, I think if I were Bobby Cox, I wouldn't only have him take 1 pitch. I'd have him take 2 pitches.
Finally a strike. Will he take again? That's what Smoltz wants to know as he looked down at Jimmy Williams, who is peering into the dugout at Bobby Cox.
Well, think about the odds. I mean, you've got a pitcher who threw 7 straight balls, and now you're trying to get him to throw, 3 straight strikes to get you out. I think you take again right here.
He rips the pitch into center field. Olson around to score. Lemke to third. The Braves are on the board. It's 3-1. John Smoltz, who is certainly not an automatic out, hitting 176 prior to that at bat, had the green light to swing away on 3-1, and he hit a rocket through the middle into center. His 4th RBI of the year.
Yeah, we said he was going to take, and he did. He takes the fastball up the middle, a line drive, a low laser beam. That is RBI number 4 on the season for John Smoltz.
And you have to give Bobby Cox credit. You talked earlier about teams sometimes when they're under pressure in the heat of a pennant race, they play everything very conservatively. Well, that was certainly not a conservative decision by Bobby Cox.
That surprised us up here, and it certainly surprised the Philadelphia Phillies, especially Danny Jackson, as Johnny Padres, the pitching coach, was out to talk to Danny.
Bobby Cox has the tying run at first and still nobody out. The top of the order back around to bat against Jackson. Otis Nixon at the plate. Nixon has had a tough time this year with runners in scoring position. He's only hit 189 in that situation.
It's his job to get in scoring position, not drive runners home from scoring position. The Braves have enough of those guys. McGriff, Gant, Justice, Pendleton.
Otis got into scoring position in the first. It was doubled up to end the inning on the line drive by Gant. 1 ball and 1 strike on Nixon. The Phillies lead 3-1 in the top of the third. Philadelphia has 5 hits. The Braves have 3, 2 of them here in this inning. Good pitch. Fastball for a strike, 1-2. Earlier in the season, when Deion Sanders had taken over as the starting center fielder, Nixon asked to be traded. The Braves tried to accommodate him. Couldn't work out a deal, and now Nixon is back as the starter since Sanders has been ill. And there's a hit for Otis Nixon. And it's 3-2 as Lemke came trotting home from third. RBI number 23 for Otis Nixon. And the go-ahead run is at first. The tying run at second with nobody out for Atlanta in the top of the third.
Really good hitting on the part of Otis Nixon. That is a nasty pitch from Jackson, and Nixon didn't try to pull it. Laces one up the middle. That walk to Lemke set this whole thing up. Sometimes what a walk does, it makes a pitcher throw pitches that are too much in the strike zone, and that's certainly what he did to John Smoltz.
Now Blauser bunts, and a good bunt. Hollins to Morandini covering. It's a sacrifice for Blauser. The play goes 5-4. Now Smoltz representing the tying runners at third, and the go-ahead run Nixon is at second with 1 out in the third. That brings up the hottest RBI man in the game at the moment, Ron Gant, who lined into that double play when he hit a BB down to third in the first inning. Gant has driven in 23 runs in 20 games this month. Strike 1. The count on Gant. There is action. Former Chicago White Sox reliever Don Paul warming up for Philadelphia. Wow.
Throwing hard, huh?
We could hear him all the way up here. 0-2 the count on Gant. As Pat O'Brien mentioned during Baseball 93, Gant, the Sports Illustrated cover person this week. Hoping not to be affected by the infamous Sports Illustrated jinx. He fought it off to stay alive at 0-2, and it was an appropriate title on the cover. Smokin'. And mentioned in his article that he has $20,000 worth of weightlifting equipment in his home in suburban Atlanta, and that doesn't come as much of a surprise when you look at it. 190 pounds. He can bench press 430 pounds. That's in the dirt, blocked by Dalton.
Catchers anticipate a breaking ball on the dirt, but not a fastball. Well, that's a great play by Dalton. Talking about Ron Gant filling out a uniform. study as hard as high school algebra.
Did he check his swing? No, says home plate umpire Charlie Williams. A big strikeout for Danny Jackson of Ron Gant for the second out of the inning.
Jackson goes out of the strike zone. Philadelphia fans saw that slider for about 17 years here when Steve Carlton toiled, winning 251 games. And that's the Carlton-like slider that Danny Jackson just got Gant out on.
So now Jackson can get out of this with the Phillies still ahead if he can retire Fred McGriff, who flied to shallow left his first time up. Well, you mentioned Steve Carlton. For so many years you were his personal catcher. What is the left-hander up to these days?
Left-hander is living in Durango, Colorado, one of 4 numbers retired here in Philadelphia, and will be going into the Hall of Fame next year.
Check swing, no swing, says Gary Darling, which did not endear Darling to the masses here at the Vet.
He could have gone around on that. Fred McGriff, a very good hitter against left-handed pitching. 262 lifetime, 283 this year.
Broken bat, bouncer to short. Stalker throws him out. So the Braves get 2, but they had a great chance to tie it or take the lead and did not do so. We'll return to Veterans Stadium after this message and a word from your local station.
Tonight, get set for explosive premieres. First, it's a frontier horse race with high stakes and no rules, Dr. Quinn. Then, it's Bo and Lloyd Bridges in one man's wildest adventure, the series premiere Hearts of the West. And Chuck Norris is back, Walker, Texas Ranger. 3 great premieres tonight.
Is Maurice in denial?
I'm not a senior citizen.
Or will he face the music before he runs out of time?
Maurice, you okay?
An unforgettable Northern exposure Monday.
This is CBS.
Why today's man? More choice. There's over 7,000 suits.
Must be 10,000 shirts and ties.
No exaggeration. I bet you they had 150 in my size alone.
Dress shirt, $20. All cotton pinpoint. I'll never spend $37 again.
I never knew they had so much great sportswear.
Same quality, same labels, for a lot less.
I just paid $200 for this all-wool suit made in Italy. Any other store, you'd pay twice that.
Their tailors make my clothes look custom made.
Today's Man, the menswear superstore.
There was a deposit made for our wedding there in '83. So, I mean, I had certain deposits, remember?
Mm-hmm.
How we used to put them in? And I'd say, this is for the wedding, this is for college.
We put 4 children through school, 2 girls and 2 boys.
And they're all good parents. It's great to know that I had it to give.
The Clarks have found that banking really is as easy as GSB.
I mean, I wouldn't want it any other way.
The lease, the monthly payment, the term, the deposit, the drive-out cost, and, of course, the legalese. Why it's called legalese, we have no idea. There's nothing easy about reading this. It is, however, very easy to lease the GS. The place to do it? Your New Jersey, Delaware, and Pennsylvania area Lexus dealer.
The Homeless making a comeback. Helping Hands. Monday at 5 and 11 on Channel 10.
On Thursday night, John Kruk appeared here on CBS on The Late Show with David Letterman.
Do you like playing the Rockies? What's the problem there?
Yeah, there's no air.
Yeah.
I was on base, and there was a 3-2 count, 2 outs, so they made me run. And Dave Hollins kept fouling balls off, and I kept getting more tired. And I told the first base coach, I said, I'm not going. He said, well, you have to. I said, the hell I do.
We told you the rest of the story. When he finally did run and make it to home plate, he had to stick. He didn't have any momentum left. He was funny Thursday night. There's only one example of John Kruk's well-chronicled humor. And here he was running earlier in the ball game. This is at actual speed, not slow motion. But training program of ring dings and cases of beer apparently is paying off for him. Of course, when he was in the slump, there were many here in Philadelphia who said his lack of conditioning and that the extra weight was playing a part. But you don't hear that lately now that he's picked it back up, including today when his first time up he singled to right and scored one of the 3 first inning runs for Philadelphia. For the bottom of the 3rd, the Phils lead 3-2.
John was so successful on that show, they moved up the World Series starting time a half an hour. So David get his show in. Part of the reason.
Yes. David Letterman, a big sports fan. And Kruk really a perfect talk show guest, as he demonstrated Thursday night. He was taking all the way on 3-0. It's 3-1. Dave Hollins on deck, and then Darren Dalton.
Kruk always up there on base percentage. As a matter of fact, he is the Philadelphia Phillies all-time leader on base percentage at .396 average, and behind him Richie Ashburn. Doing the game today for WOGL Radio here in Philadelphia.
To left field, and Gant in fair territory. Speaking of Richie Ashburn, there he is in the middle with the pipe. We talk about guys who aren't in the Hall of Fame and should be or could be. There's a guy who'd be at the top of my list.
Absolutely.
Among those guys.
Won 2 batting titles in the 50s. Had more hits than any other major leaguer in the 50s. He could have won 2 other batting titles. Eked out once by Willie Mays. I firmly agree with you. I think he belongs in the Hall of Fame.
Hard to believe that over his first 5 seasons of eligibility for the Hall of Fame, he never received more than 11 votes. Perhaps with the recent changes on the Veterans Committee, he'll make his way to Cooperstown. Still enormously popular in this area as a broadcaster. Andy Musser, Chris Wheeler, Harry Callis, terrific broadcasting group. For a long time they've been together here in Philadelphia.
Richie with that great wit. He played his first 2 years of professional ball as a catcher, and he said the reason they changed him to an outfielder is backing up first. He kept beating the runner down to first base.
McGriff beats the runner Hollins to first base for the 2nd out of the 3rd. 2 outs, nobody on. 3-2 Philadelphia. Toronto, as you saw moments ago, still leads New York 3-0. Al Leiter started. He got the start because Morris couldn't go. Danny Cox has come on in relief. It's been Frank Tanana all the way in that one for the Yankees. Here's Darren Dalton, who singled to right to drive in a run. The 3rd run of the 3-run first for the Phils. Up back over our heads. Sean McDonough with Tim McCarver, our producer Bob Dekas, our director Bob Fishman. Happy to have you with us on this cloudy Saturday afternoon in Philadelphia. Looks kind of cool and gray, but it's actually quite comfortable. 70 degrees plus at game time. Expected to get up to about 75 today.
This is that type of day, even though usually it's a little cooler, but the type of day where great pennant races always seem to happen the last week of the season, last 10 days or so. And this year no exception, especially for the Atlanta Braves, who started today's game only a game and a half ahead of the San Francisco Giants.
And with the perception, at least, of a shift in momentum. Braves had it for so long. Now the Giants appear to have it. Plenty of momentum on the fastball from Smoltz. The high rider Dalton couldn't get it. It's a full count. The lead is a game and a half. The Giants with a game in hand. They'll play Monday against San Diego while the Braves are off. It's only a 1-game lead in the loss column. And a 1-2-3 inning for Smoltz, his first. That's his 3rd strikeout. After 3, the Phils 3, the Braves 2.
Toyota proudly presents All-Around Champions. Many people think Robin Ventura is a great ball player. Others know he's a great motivator. Robin's visits to hospitals provide inspiration and motivation to ailing children so they can better realize how to reach any goal they dream of. Toyota is pleased to salute all-around champion Robin Ventura by contributing $1,000 to the Children's Memorial Hospital of Chicago.
The results of the 1993 J.D. Power and Associates study on initial quality are in. Among the top 10 models in initial quality are Toyota Camry, Corolla, Tercel, and Paseo. And the best in their price class, Toyota Camry, Tercel, and Paseo. 4Runner ranked the best compact sport utility vehicle. Previa, the best compact van, the best compact pickup Toyota, and the best full-size pickup, the T100. It's Toyota at its best.
Hurry, girls, before Daddy gets up.
Ooh, pretty.
Now, no more of these are Daddy's corn pops.
Oh, look, Daddy's bowl is too full.
The problem with a cereal that tastes like popcorn, only sweeter, is that it disappears like popcorn, only faster.
Mommy, that's Daddy's.
We share.
Hi, girls. Happy birthday.
Thanks, guys. Now let's all go make him breakfast.
Kellogg's Corn Pops. It's hard to stop when it's Pops.
Imagine a cold medication so effective, one tablet keeps symptoms from coming back a full 24 hours. Introducing Effidac 24, the first cold tablet for consistent 24-hour relief. Look, Sudafed drops off after 6 hours, Tavist after 12. So your symptoms keep coming back. But just one Effidac gives consistent relief for 24 hours. So your symptoms don't come back. New 24-hour Effidac keeps cold symptoms from coming back.
This game summary is brought to you by Busch Beer. The Philadelphia Phillies scored 3 runs in the first, a 2-run double by Dave Hollins, an RBI single by Darren Dalton. And the Braves got within 1 run in the third, an RBI single by John Smoltz, followed by a single to drive in a run by Otis Nixon. So it's 3-2 as the Braves bat in the fourth against Danny Jackson. Terry Pendleton to lead off, then David Justice and Greg Olson. Jackson more or less breezed through the first 2 innings, then struggled last inning. And was fortunate to emerge from the inning with the lead. Helped himself out of the jam with the strikeout of Gant. Deion Sanders relegated the role of spectator. He still is not feeling 100% after his stint on the disabled list with an upper respiratory infection. Still occasionally is coughing uncontrollably. Bobby Cox said even Deion was healthy, he wouldn't be in there with the way Nixon has been playing of late. Deion says the way the club is going, he's not going to complain and create a ruckus in the heat of the battle. Pendleton down the line, fair ball, diving stop by Kruk to Jackson for the out.
Fine play by John Kruk, playing off the line and having to dive for the ball. That's a quality Jackson fastball. He slips in an effort to beat Pendleton to the bag, but recovers in time. Fine play by John Kruk. Actually, when he caught the ball, he's in foul territory. A little underhanded toss. Nice play.
Now David Justice. First ball swinging, a foul right back to the screen. Justice flied to center his first time up.
He just missed that pitch when he flied to center, and he just missed that slider. Justice, a superb hitter against left-handed pitching. 302 lifetime against lefties. And odd that he's only 252 against right-handed pitching. Since 1975, that is the biggest disparity with batters of over 200 at bats. 50 points difference. Usually it's the other way around. Left-handed batter hitting right-handers better than left-handers, but not so for Justice.
2 balls and a strike on David. 1 out, bases empty, top of the 4th. Philadelphia 3, Atlanta 2. And Justice asked for time. One other statistic at which the Phillies coaching staff was marveling yesterday, the fact that Justice has only 14 doubles this year to go along with the 37 home runs. Plenty of round trippers for Justice, but only the 14 2-base hits. There are those in Major League Baseball history who've had more home runs with fewer doubles, but certainly that is a very low double total. Matter of fact, when Roger Maris had 61 homers, he had only 16 doubles. Justice, a strikeout victim. That's the 3rd of the day for Danny Jackson. Now looking at the ball game at Sky Dome between the Yankees and Blue Jays. In the bottom of the 7th, Devon White with a single to right field off Steve Farr scored Alfredo Griffin and the sliding Ricky Henderson to give Toronto a 3-0 lead in the top of the 8th as the Blue Jays close in on another title in the AL East. Their magic number was 3. The Yankees have played horribly the last couple of weeks. Moments ago, Don Mattingly drove in the first Yankee run of the ball game to make it 3-1 in the top of the 8th. Olson looked at a ball up and away. 2-0 on Olson, who doubled down the left field line leading off last inning, and he scored the first Atlanta run. Three and all. And that's ball 4. Tomorrow on the NFL Today, join Greg and Terry for all the latest NFL news, including why some of the star quarterbacks are taking a seat on the bench. Plus, the game's big hitters are finding their big hits could cost them big bucks. And Philadelphia Eagles quarterback Randall Cunningham will be live in the studio. That's all tomorrow at 12:30 Eastern on the NFL Today. All you need to know. Mark Lemke, the batter. He walked and scored last inning. Little limper, that's going to fall in. Olson continues toward 3rd and gets there without a throw. So the 2-out walk may yet prove costly to Danny Jackson as Lemke follows it with a bloop single down the right field line, the 5th Atlanta hit of the ball game.
If nothing else, the walk and now this hit clears the pitcher John Smoltz, so your leadoff batter Otis Nixon can lead off the 5th inning. But Smoltz, as he proved his last time up, no easy out, driving in his 4th run of the year, hitting a 3-1 fastball from Danny Jackson up the middle.
Lemke bothered lately by a shoulder injury. It's his throwing shoulder. Also bothered by the knee injury that kept him out of action for about a week. Now Smoltz, who ripped that ringing single into center last time up. He looked at strike 1. Smoltz, an excellent athlete on a pitching staff that features several outstanding fielders. He might just be the best fielder. He hasn't made an error this year. Bobby Cox says he's the best at coming off the mound, making plays on balls down the 1st and 3rd base lines. The race for the Cy Young Award might well be amongst members of the Brave staff, and you'd think the race for the Gold Glove Award among National League pitchers would be too. Maddox, the reigning Gold Glove winner. Tom Glavine has never won one. He's certainly one of the best. They're predicting the pitches in the Braves dugout. The 0-2 to Smoltz. Bounced off Jackson. He has time to recover and drop the ball. Had he picked it up cleanly, he was out of the inning, but he couldn't. And Olson scores to tie the game at 3.
And the reason he didn't pick it up cleanly is because he didn't go about it properly. He had plenty of time. You don't want to barehand a ball, especially on the artificial surface. This is off the glove and leg of Jackson. Now watch him go after it, trying to barehand it and shuffle it to John Kruk. He had a chance to use the glove, scoop the ball into the glove, and underhand the ball, but he didn't think he had that much time. Jim Cott has an expression about balls like that on the artificial surface: marbles in a bathtub.
There was scored an error. No RBI for Smoltz. Eisenreich the catch of the Nixon pop-up. That ends the inning. The two-out walk opened the door for the Braves run that tied the ball game.
When life turns up the heat,
They start the wedding without me?
This shouldn't take long, honey.
nothing protects you like Degree antiperspirant. It's body heat activated to release extra protection. Degree, your body heat turns it on.
Let's see what Kevin left us this time.
You mean what he didn't leave us?
Hey guys, thanks for watching the place again.
Sorry there's no food,
But the
Celica's in the garage. We need eggs.
Definitely eggs.
We gotta have orange juice.
Freshly squeezed orange juice. Why don't we get some bacon?
Make that Canadian bacon.
The Toyota Celica. Bringing home the bacon has never been so much fun.
You know your NyQuil works. What'd you do? You tried the latest thing, so you coughed all night.
Got no rest. Ended up a zombie. And your proposal to the world's most demanding boss?
Postponed until tomorrow, which means you can take NyQuil tonight. You're stupid, Dave, but lucky.
Vicks NyQuil, the nighttime sniffling, sneezing, coughing, aching, stuffy head fever so you can rest medicine. Also new NyQuil hot therapy.
What's new from Xerox? Xerox Extreme 450 antifreeze and a new 4-year guarantee. If your kid's just starting college, it's guaranteed till he graduates. We've taken our promise to extremes. For the next 4 years or the next 50,000 miles, we guarantee the temperature never drops below Xerox. It's protection you never had from antifreeze before. Get new Xerox Extreme 450. And for the next 4 years, the next 50,000 miles, we guarantee the temperature never drops below Xerox.
CBS Sports presents Major League Baseball. Today's game is brought to you by Toyota and their full line of quality cars and trucks. Kellogg's, the best to you each morning. And by Busch Beer, an easy drinking Busch Light.
For those of you just tuning in who expected to see Chicago and Texas this afternoon, that ball game was rained out. They'll play a doubleheader tomorrow. White Sox on the brink of clinching the American League West. Their magic number is 3. They have a 7-game lead over Texas. And we have an update from Candlestick Park on the condition of Giants second baseman Robbie Thompson, who was hit in the face by a Trevor Hoffman pitch last night. He is at the ballpark today and not in uniform. He has a fracture of his left cheekbone that will not require surgery. And the best case scenario for the Giants is that he might be available later in this upcoming week. Might be able to return prior to the end of the regular season. That would be the best case for the Giants. Jim Eisenreich, the batter, against John Smoltz. We're in the bottom of the 4th. The Braves have battled back from a 3-0 deficit to tie the game at 3-3. Eisenreich, Thompson, and Stocker coming up against Smoltz. Phillies have only had 1 base runner since they scored 3 times in the first inning. Smoltz pitching today on 3 days rest as Bobby Cox has decided to go to a 4-man rotation. He has an off day on Monday.
That's the key right there. The off day on Monday allows the Braves to do that.
Smoltz has given up 3 runs in the first inning, as many as 2 other times this season. Exactly twice, actually, this season prior to today. Braves came back to win both of those games. They come back to tie this one up at the bottom of the 4th.
Usually pitching on 3 days rest will affect a power pitcher more than it would a guy like Tommy Glavine or Greg Maddux. They rely on guile, movement, They don't throw as hard as Smoltz, but Smoltz, when he throws his fastball, it's best up in the strike zone, and when he only has 3 days rest as opposed to 4, you take a yard off that fastball and hitters can catch up to it.
Giants without Robbie Thompson in uniform, scoreless in the second. Andy Ashby on the mound for San Diego. Torres the starter for San Francisco. Salman Torres has lost his last 3 starts. Full count on Eisenreich. Part of the decision to go to the 4-man rotation by Bobby Cox was that should those games be important next Saturday and Sunday, he'd have Maddox and Glavine to pitch the final 2 games of the regular season against Colorado. Lemke throws out Eisenreich. Well, we told you moments ago that the Yankees got on the board at Toronto, and here's how they did it. Ground ball single through the middle by Don Mattingly. That was on an 0-2 pitch off Mike Timlin, and it brought Wade Boggs around to make it 3-1. They've gone to the bottom of the 8th at Skydome. Bill Thompson looked at ball 1 high. He was called out on strikes ending the first. Popped out of play. 1 ball and 1 strike.
Phillies won the National League pennant back in 1915. They won with the Whiz Kids in 1950. Division titles in 76, 77, and 78. They won the World Series for the only time.
Line to him. Just out of the reach of Jeff Blauser.
Only time in their 110-year history did they win a World Series back in 80, and then they won the National League pennant back in 1983. Never have the Phillies clinched a regular season title at home. Always on the road. 1915, 50, 76 through 8, 80, and 1983. And the chances are they're not going to do it this year unless they win today and tomorrow, and Montreal loses to the Mets at Shea Stadium tonight and tomorrow afternoon.
Thompson at first with 1 out. We're in the bottom of the 4th. 3-3 the score. Thompson has 9 stolen bases. He's been thrown out 4 times trying to steal. Six hits now for Philadelphia. 4 of those were in the first inning. Evan Stocker looked at a strike.
Steve Hurd hands me a note. In 1915, as a matter of fact, the first year that the Phillies won a pennant, they clinched the pennant at Braves Field on Patsy Moran Day. Have you ever heard of Patsy Moran? Who's Patsy Moran?
The Phil's manager at the time.
Oh, okay.
I know that because it said it on the note that Steve handed you.
I didn't get that far.
It was a lengthy note. Let's see, about 7 or 8 words on there. You are not an Evelyn Wood graduate.
I told you how hard high school algebra was for me.
0-2 the count as Smoltz works to Stockton. Mentioned that Smoltz is an improved fielder and an excellent fielder now. Without an error this year. He said his first year he had 7 errors, all of them on pickoff throws, and he's worked very hard to get away from that problem, and obviously he has. Sinking fast in right center and in for a hit. Justice over to play it. Thompson read it well off the bat. He goes into third standing, and here come the Phillies with first and third and 1 out.
Stocker never batted higher than 250 in the minor leagues in 3 years. He was batting 233 at Scranton Wilkes-Barre with 3 home runs and 17 RBIs and over 300 at bats when he was called up. And here he is talking about big league pitching. Piece of cake. batting .340 now, 1 for 2 this afternoon. Jim Fregosi loves this guy. Says his instincts for the game are about as good as they get.
Bobby Cox says the same thing about his shortstop, Jeff Blauser. So the Phils with a chance to reclaim the lead. They were up 3-0. Now it's 3-3 with first and third and 1 out in the Philadelphia fourth. Smoltz looking in at his opposite number, Danny Jackson. Turned the bunt and took a fastball at the knees for a strike. I saw Leo Mazzoni on the phone moments ago, and Ken Merker, who was the starter bypassed when they went to the 4-man rotation, is warming up in the bullpen. Like Don Paul earlier, he's really popping the ball into the mid of the bullpen. Jackson never should have bunted at that ball, but he did. And it's 0-2.
That's a disadvantage of bunting, sacrificing from a batting stance. I think the best way to get good plate coverage is to square around, because that way you can catch up to that outside pitch, and you can't do it when you bunt from a batting stance like that.
He pops up the 0-2, and it's foul ball, and the fans boo as Jackson strikes out. That'll bring up Lenny Dykstra, who spoke with Tim about being a winner.
It's interesting to me that you join the Mets and they just start up and they win, and then you join the Phillies and they're down, and now they start winning. That's two organizations where you've been the lightning rod to their winning. It's got to make you feel
it really does. I'm glad you said that. I think that's something I'm real proud of, you know. I mean, I don't think it's just coincidence that has happened. I mean, I'm not saying I'm the sole reason for that, but I believe that I have brought that attitude over here.
He has a chance to give the Phillies the lead again. He foul tipped the first pitch into the mid of Olsen. Dykstra today has bounced to first with Smoltz covering. He singled to right his last time up. First and third and 2 outs. Milt Thompson, the runner at third. And Kevin Stocker at first, held on by McGriff. The 0-1 from Smoltz. Well hit, just foul past the first base bag.
Terry Pendleton out to talk to John Smoltz now. I think Terry reminding John to remind Greg Olson and to ask him what they're going to do if the runner from first, Kevin Stocker, runs. Usually catchers have signs for that. Do you throw through? Do you fake a throw and look the runner back, or do you look the runner back and throw it to the pitcher?
0-2 on Dykstra, who's driven in more runs in September this year than any other Philly. Charlie Williams started to ring him up. He saw the flinch, and then he thought better of it. That had Smoltz hopping, and Dykstra breathing a sigh of relief. 1-2 on Lenny. 17 runs batted in September for Dykstra, giving him 63 for the year. That's most among leadoff hitters in Major League Baseball. A 1-2 pitch. Screaming line drive by Dykstra right at McGriff. And the Phillies strand 2. After 4, 3-3 the score.
There's no place on earth that I'd rather be than out in the open where it's all plain to see. If it's gonna get done, it's up to you and me. Come on and head for the mountains of Bush. Come on and head for the mountains of Bush. Beer.
If you demand more from an aftershave than that same old alcohol burn, you gotta try a brand new aftershave. New sensitive from Old Spice. It's alcohol free because alcohol burns. That's why they took it out and put these new cooling sensates in for real refreshment to go with that great scent. It's proof aftershave doesn't have to hurt to work. So use new sensitive, or you might get burned. Take the heat out of aftershave. Demand proof. Try new alcohol-free sensitive from Old Spice.
My dandruff shampoo is good.
Better try something else. Mine really works.
You'd better try something else, like Selsun Blue. Doctors recommend it more than all leading brands. Selsun Blue. Doctor recommended #1.
This is a Goodyear Aquatread, and this is a gallon of water. Aquatread's deep groove design channels water away. At highway speeds, it moves a gallon of water every second for outstanding wet traction. Aquatread, only from Goodyear.
I've been thinking about buying an American car. The GM MasterCard was a tremendous incentive. 5% on every purchase really adds up. I work hard at my job.
You've got to make every dollar count. I love my kids.
My wife and I are going to be the biggest influence in their lives. The 5% I earned with the GM card definitely saved me money when I leased my Pontiac Grand Am.
Being a father changes your priorities.
The GM card with no annual fee. To apply, call 1-800-8GM-CARD.
You're watching CBS Sports coverage of Major League Baseball.
We hope you'll be tuned to CBS Sports next Saturday at 12:30 Eastern Time. We don't know yet which games we'll be bringing you. We'll be bringing you whichever games are most meaningful. That's 1 week from today here on CBS. 2:30 Eastern Time with the pregame show. 3 o'clock with the first pitch. In this battle of the two division leaders in the National League, it's 3-3 as we head to the fifth. Jeff Blauser leads off against Danny Jackson.
Here it is, the fifth inning, and it's the first time in this game that Jeff Blauser has had a chance to swing the bat. He tried to sacrifice his first time up. He popped it to Kruk. He did sacrifice his second time up.
And he looks at a ball low and away. 1 ball and 1 strike. Blauser, then Gant, and Fred McGriff coming up in the fifth inning. One and 2. And that's out of play in right. Of course, Jeff Blauser, an all-star for the first time this year. They have Chipper Jones, perhaps the best minor league prospect in all of baseball, was at shortstop at Richmond this year, who's one of the September recalls for Atlanta. Strike 3. Blauser called out. You had a chance to speak with Chipper Jones yesterday.
And Chipper telling me that he thinks he was going to Puerto Rico, but now he thinks he's going down to the Atlanta Instructional League. He is reported to be the best minor league player available, and he's going to work on playing second and third. And the reason third base is so interesting is the Braves have an option on Terry Pendleton's contract. Do they extend it and leave Terry there, or do they give the 21-year-old Chipper Jones, who'll be 21 next year, a chance to play third and keep Blauser at short? They've got to do something to cut back on their payroll.
Ron Gant sends one down the left field line, a fair ball for a hit, and he'll stop at first with a long single. Throw got by Morandini, but Kruk backed it up, and Gant is 1 for 3.
Ball hammered to left field. Ron Gant telling us yesterday that he is in the hottest streak he's ever been in professional baseball. You know, but what do? You've got superstars up and down the lineup. If you keep them all, then you're looking at a payroll of $54 to $60 million. You've got to cut back somewhere.
Fred McGriff, the batter. He's fly to left and bounced to short. And when we talked last week with Bobby Cox about how he and the Braves front office decides when the young players are ready to come up and whose position they take, he said finances will dictate a lot of that. Stalker hauled Hollins off the pop-up. McGriff is out. The second out in the fifth. 3-3 the score. one of the veteran players is making too much money. They can't afford to keep him around. He'll be the one to go, and that young player waiting behind him will step in.
Another position that is open is the catching position. I think what the Braves want to try to do, from listening to John Sherholtz and Bobby Cox talk Stan Kasten, is to bring on one of the younger players at a time. When you fill two positions and expect them to be regulars, it's a little bit tough. The chances are that one of them are going to fail if you bring up two guys. It's rare that you have two rookies at the ages of 21 and 23, as you would Chipper Jones and Javier Lopez, and have them both succeed. I think Jones is a little more ready than Lopez is, but the Braves are not as strong behind the plate as they are at third base. That's the dilemma.
Gant has 24 stolen bases. Twice in his career he's been a 30-30 man in home runs and steals. Barry Bonds has a great chance to be a 30-30 man again this year. He leads the National League in homers with 41, and he needs 2 stolen bases to reach 30. Out of play.
Other guys, 30 home runs, 30 stolen bases in the same season. Howard Johnson did it 3 times with the Mets. Barry Bonds 2 of the last 3 years, and Ron Gant trying to make it 3 of the last 4 years. Only 40-40 guy ever, Jose Canseco.
The count now on Pendleton. The Yankees lose to Toronto again, so the Blue Jays lead in the American League East is 7.5 games over both the Orioles and the New York Yankees. Baltimore plays at home tonight against Detroit. Broken bat, fly ball, shallow left. Milt Thompson is there to end the inning. Halfway through the ball game, the Braves 3, the Phillies 3.
This is the sports car no one could match. Not Acura, not Mazda, not even Porsche could answer our challenge to match Firebird's standard driver and passenger airbags, standard anti-lock brakes, and 275 horsepower engine for even twice the price of this new Firebird formula. Soon other sports cars will try to close the distance, and that's okay. But that will be then. This new Firebird is now.
We are in the forefront of attempting to develop entrepreneurship as a way of life here. MCI understands that this is a two-way street.
The businesses in the community band together through the chamber. With Proof Positive, you save money. You always get MCI's best price. MCI always does what's right for you.
It's helped us grow small businesses and the large businesses.
It's not just one business out there, it's the whole community trying to make Sioux City a better place to live.
Americans have always had a love affair with their cars.
Do you love? Who do you love? Yeah, who do you love?
And when it comes to plugs and filters, we guarantee to keep that spark going for a long, long time.
Every season is more of a physical challenge, but after 26 years in the majors, I've learned to take care of myself. Like now, when my muscles are sore, I take Advil. Just a couple of Advil, and I'm ready to go another 9 innings. To last as long as I have, you got to stick with what works.
Advil, advanced medicine for pain.
Steve Young is so unbelievable, he even completed a pass to himself. Speaking of unbelievable, the Saints are undefeated. Sunday, Niners Saints on CBS. I'm a big fan.
Halfway through the ball game, 3-3 the score. Sean McDonough along with Tim McCarver. Atlanta tied up with Philadelphia here. We have word from San Francisco that the Giants have just taken a lead over San Diego on a home run by Barry Bonds.
Colorado in their first year could be the team that decides the National League Western Division. Colorado plays 2 games against the Giants and 3 games against the Braves next weekend, when the Dodgers are playing the Giants the last 4 games of the series. And here again, the remaining games for the San Francisco Giants: 4 at home, 4 away. 4 away games at Los Angeles, playing San Diego on Monday when the Braves are off. The Braves after today have 7 remaining, but 6 are at home and 1 is away in that last weekend, as we said, against Colorado. But think about those 3 pitchers: Pete Harnisch, Doug Drabek, and Darryl Kyle, going against Atlanta Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday at Fulton County Stadium.
Mickey Morandini was the first out of the inning on the ground ball to first. Truck out on the ground ball to second. He's now 1 for 3, and quickly 2 away in the home half of the 5th in a 3-3 ball game. I mentioned that Bonds gave San Francisco the lead on the home run. In the top of that inning, the second, Solomon Torres pitched out of a bases loaded jam, striking out Jeff Gardner to end the innings. The Padres threatened but did not score. Dave Hollins drove in the first 2 runs of the game with a double to right center in the first inning. He scored the 3rd run. Phillies haven't scored since the first. Hollins bounced the first unassisted in the 3rd. He's 1 for 2. Mentioned earlier in the year his nickname Mikey. He takes on a different personality as game time approaches, becomes very focused and intense. You might even add angry to that description.
He's like a boxer is about a week before his opponent. Remember the stories of Joe Frazier, who used to put Muhammad Ali on his wall for about a month during training camp. That's what Dave Hollins does. Of course, he doesn't have him have pictures of him. He tries to picture it mentally. About 45 minutes before game time, you can't even talk to his teammates, and his teammates don't even bother talking to Dave.
Some of his teammates were a little bit concerned earlier in the year when he got a dog. Figured the dog wasn't going to have a very happy time of it. If Hollins had a couple of tough nights, but happy to report the dog is doing just fine. Three balls and a strike, 2 outs and the bases empty. 5th inning, 3-3 the score. 3-7-1 for Philadelphia. 3-6-0 for Atlanta. High heat, and Hollins couldn't get to it. Jim Fragosi's club, with the 3 runs today, has scored 846 runs this year. That is 79 runs more than any other team in the National League. San Francisco is second. There's a hit through the right side of the infield for Hollins. He's thinking about 2. He's going to try for 2. Justice with the throw, not in time. A hustling double for Dave Hollins.
That's a virtuous double right there, because he wasn't satisfied with a single. With none or 1 out, this is a bad chance. With 2 outs, it's a great play. Watch how Justice gets rid of the ball rather quickly. Dave did all he could, but Hollins just beat the throw. No looking back. He just keeps right on going, and I guess Mikey took over.
Mikey has a double. The 8th Philadelphia hit. Go ahead run again in scoring position. And Darren Dalton looked at a strike. He singled to right, driving in a run in the 1st. He struck out in the 3rd. Smoltz, second in the league in walks coming into today, has not issued a free pass. He has 4 strikeouts to his credit. Dalton with the RBI in the first has 104. He's only hit .234 this year with men in scoring position. I can tell you how many guys have been on base when he's batted this year.
A lot of opportunities. Bill Dickey, 100 RBIs by a catcher in consecutive seasons. Dickey, Berra, Bench, all Hall of Famers. Then Thurman Munson, Gary Carter, Ted Simmons. Pretty good company right there.
1-2 pitch is outside. 2 balls and 2 strikes on Dalton, who earlier in the year signed a 4-year contract extension worth $18.5 million. There have been some reports in recent days here in Philadelphia that Lenny Dykstra would like to have the final year of his current contract next year ripped up. He'd like a contract extension similar to that given to Dalton. Dalton strikes out. And that ends the inning. We'll return to Veterans Stadium after this message and a word from your local station.
The Hart family moved to a small town, but they didn't count on neighbors like this.
Welcome to the show now, folks.
Lloyd Bridges and Bo Bridges, Hearts of the West, premieres tonight.
Monday, will Carol Burnett do anything to be on Evening Shade?
Can you do that Tarzan call?
I don't think so.
Maybe for Bert?
How about doing that Tarzan yell?
I don't ever want to do the damn Tarzan thing again.
Then, see why the critics call Dave's World the best new series of the season. Dave's World after Evening Shade, Monday on CBS.
This is CBS.
The lease, the monthly payment, the term, the deposit, the drive-out cost, and, of course, the legalese. Why it's called legalese, we have no idea. There's nothing easy about reading this. It is, however, very easy to lease the GS. The place to do it? Your New Jersey, Delaware, and Pennsylvania area Lexus dealer.
I'm saving so that we can have a family. We design hand-painted wallpaper, and it's really hard work.
But it's very satisfying.
I think I got my first passbook when I was about 12. It was babysitting money that I just started putting away. And it turned out to be waitressing money, and then job money, and...
Then my money.
Your money.
Marnie and Nori Collins find that banking really is as easy as GSB.
Savings means freedom to me.
If you care about this big, beautiful world, show me.
Don't give me another toxic antifreeze.
Give me something different.
Don't just tell me how it protects to 70 below.
And guards against rust?
Any antifreeze can do that.
Tell me it's safer for my dog, my family, the kids.
Tell me nothing protects better.
And it's biodegradable.
That's what I want to know.
That's what I want to hear.
New Sierra. It's not just antifreeze, it's safety freeze.
The Homeless making a comeback. Helping Hands. Monday at 5 and 11 on Channel 10.
Tomorrow it's an NFL doubleheader day here on CBS Sports, and that includes in New York City. You'll see 2 games throughout the country. Featured game at 1 o'clock Eastern time, Green Bay at Minnesota. And at 4 Eastern, San Francisco takes on New Orleans. It all begins at 12:30 with the NFL Today. All you need to know with Greg and Terry. All you need to know about this one is that we're tied at 3 heading into the 6th inning. Phil's out hitting the Braves 8-6. David Justice at the plate with a count of 1-1. He has flied to center and struck out swinging against Danny Jackson. Since it got to 3-3, each team has had a chance to take the lead. And both pitchers have worked their way out of some jams. 2-1 now on Justice. Two and 2 on Justice.
Branch Rickey was a proponent of a quiet bat. And the one thing that's changed in hitting over the years, the last 30 years, almost no hitter has a quiet bat. What is a quiet bat? When a hitter's in his batting stance to keep the bat straight up and down. That's almost unheard of. Watch the little wiggle for David Justice. Every hitter has to trigger his swing, and almost all trigger really before the pitch is on its way, and Justice no exception to that. Also no exception, a guy who talks to himself. You see that often. A lot of good stuff if you're a catcher.
Yeah, what kinds of stuff are they talking about when they're talking to themselves?
Usually trying to, you've heard that statement, trying to stay within themselves. Well, they're trying to talk within themselves. See Dykstra do it a lot. Ron Gant does it. David Justice. Just reminders, keep the shoulder in, whatever key that a hitter keys on.
The 3-2 lifted to center. Dykstra a few steps in, 1 out. We told you about Barry Bonds' home run. Now let's show it to you off Andy Ashby. To the opposite field. There was adoring throng out in the left field bleachers. Number 42 leading the National League for Bonds is 110th RBI. Only 3 behind the league leaders now in that category. And San Francisco leads 1-0. Certainly the Braves are scoreboard watching. Greg Olson has been a big part of the Brave attack today. He doubled leading off the 3rd and scored the first Atlanta run. Then he walked with 2 outs in the 4th and wound up scoring on the Danny Jackson error. That was the run that tied the game. Well hit to center. Justice on the move, or rather Dykstra on the move to make the running catch. Justice a fly ball to center to open the inning. Now Olson the line drive to deep right center. That was slicing away from Dykstra, but he got there to make the catch.
Dykstra leads the majors in outfield putouts. He covers a lot of ground. He is not by any means a Gold Glove center fielder. The one unique thing is Lenny has a tough time fielding ground balls, and when he gets errors, usually it's on ground balls to him. Nice play there, however.
And Lemke got it through the right side of the infield. And the right side of the infield really extended into shallow right field as Morandini was about 15 yards out into right when he put the dive on it, but couldn't come up with it. So the Braves will try to score again with 2 outs.
This is the second time that Lemke has delivered a base hit with 2 outs. The last time up, it led to a run. Nice diving stop or attempt by Morandini. However, had he come up with it, he has no play.
It's been the bottom part of the order that has done most of the damage to Danny Jackson today, including the pitcher Smoltz, who skipped out of the way of ball 1, even though it didn't appear to be that close. Smoltz single to drive in a run in the 3rd, and then he hit the ball that Jackson couldn't come up with, or the error on the pitcher that allowed the tying run to score in the 4th. Two and 0 the count. That's a check swing and a strike. The big bats in the middle of the lineup, the 4, 5, and 6 hitters, Pendleton, McGriff, and Justice, a combined 0 for 9 today. But the bottom 3rd, Olson, Lemke, and Smoltz, a combined 4 for 6 with 2 walks. They've combined to score all 3 of the runs. Late swing by Smoltz at the Jackson fastball 2-2.
Come on, Johnny. Now you can do it.
3-3 the score in the 6th. Lemke at first with 2 outs. Smoltz chops it to second. Morandini throws him out. On to the bottom of the 6th. Atlanta 3, Philadelphia 3.
I'm a 35-year-old woman who loves Kellogg's Frosted Flakes. This is my story. I knew it was for kids, so I had an arrangement with the stock boy at the market. I'd pay for it, and when the coast was clear, he'd hand over the box, and that frosted crunch would be mine. All mine. Of course, it's all behind me now. They deliver.
There's no disguising it. Frosted Flakes have the taste adults have grown to love. They're great.
You've got to attack the courses. You've got to master the machinery. You've got to use all your resources.
It's not really that difficult to earn the name Goodwrench.
All it takes is all you've got.
Goodwrench, raising the standards of performance on the track and in your GM dealership.
It was pouring rain. I was late. The guy from Xerox was waiting to talk about my documents. My documents, I asked. Add impact to your direct mail, he says. Just add color. You can get 25% more responses. More responses, I say? And I see it, how color gets my documents to make money. I say call my direct mail anything you want. If you're helping my cash flow, you're talking my language.
See your documents differently. Call 1-800-ASK-XEROX, the document company.
Department stores may never be the same now that kids are discovering the Rookie League collection. It's Major League Kids clothes, built to stand up to the way kids play. The Rookie League collection, now playing at a department store near you.
A message from Major League Baseball.
Well, the Phillies have drawn more than $3 million at home this year, and they've all been entertained by one of the great mascots in sports, the Philly Fanatic. During the break between innings, decided to change the outfit on one of the few Braves fans in attendance here this afternoon. Gave that young man a Phillies cap to the delight of the sellout crowd. Jim Eisenreich begins the home half of the sixth in a 3-3 game. The Phillies haven't scored since the first off John Smoltz. Hasn't been an easy ride for either pitcher. Smoltz has only had one 1-2-3 inning. That was the third. Jackson has only had one perfect inning of his own. That was the Atlanta second. Eisenreich is 0 for 2 and ahead in the count here. 2 balls and a strike. Milt Thompson is on deck, and then Kevin Stocker. Popped up near the Atlanta dugout. Pendleton has room. 1 out at the conclusion of today's game. Tim McCarver and I will select the Chevrolet Most Valuable Player of the game. Chevrolet will donate $1,000 on the player's behalf to the Special Olympics. More Braves fans in attendance. Milt Thompson, the hitter. He singled to center his last time up. He struck out in the first. He chopped one foul off his foot. Milt, the veteran, but like many of the Phillies, he has never experienced postseason play. Nor has Don Mattingly, and it doesn't look like he will this year either, as the Yankees now on the brink of elimination with their loss earlier today at Toronto. Breaking ball bounced in front of the plate, and Thompson just did check his swing.
Atlanta Braves, on the other hand, most have experienced postseason play. Even Fred McGriff, for whom they traded back in late July, he experienced it as a member of the Toronto Blue Jays back in the middle 80s.
In on the hands and loop to left for a hit. So Milt Thompson is 2 for 3. And once again, Philadelphia has the go-ahead run aboard with 1 out, this time in the 6th inning. Hits for the Phillies off John Smoltz.
And you can see that look of dismay and frustration on Smoltz's face. You make the pitch as a pitcher, you get it exactly where you want to, and yet the hitter fights it off, as Thompson just did.
Stalker popped it up. A late start for Justice, but it's Otis Nixon to the rescue in right center. 2 down, and Thompson still at first.
Otis from Evergreen, North Carolina. As a matter of fact, it was last year, if you folks may remember, during the World Series, when a sign was erected for Otis. Evergreen, North Carolina, home of Otis Nixon.
Well, that's pretty good, but it's not like having a stadium named after you while you're still alive in particular, which is certainly the case for you. And May, you are still alive, aren't you?
It is a memorial, yes.
It is not a memorial stadium in your hometown of Memphis, but it is Tim McCarter
Well, it
Stadium.
could be. If it were, they would have named it after my arm. It died about 20 years ago.
Is that why you haven't picked up a check in these 2 years?
Oh, quit it.
Eddie Jackson, the batter.
That's said by a guy who throws nickels around like they were manhole covers. Will said to save your money.
That's
when
right.
he was bringing you up, he didn't say when you were 31 years old. Spread it around.
Oh, yes, he did.
Oh, he did.
Because he hopes to retire to that great golf course somewhere.
As one of your dependents.
And live off the family. That's right. Jackson has struck out twice in as many at bats, and you can make it the hat trick for Danny. That ends the inning. Smoltz has fanned 6 today. At the vet, 3-3 the score.
When I slide into home, it's like 2 trains colliding. I'm the big train.
All men are created equal. Some just work harder in the preseason.
See that little black square on your Buick Park Avenue's key? It's worth a lot of money because it can save you a substantial amount on auto insurance. It's an electronic device that activates your ignition. You can drive your car, but a would-be thief cannot. You won't find this feature on Mercedes or Lexus. You will find it on Park Avenue. From Buick, the new symbol for quality in America.
Imagine a deodorant that keeps a man feeling as fresh as this. It's Ban for Men, the clear deodorant that fights odor-causing bacteria for 24 hours. And now there's new Ban for Men antiperspirant. It's the first clear solid that helps keep you dry.
Still going. Nothing outlasts the Energizer battery. It keeps going and going and going.
CBS Sports presents Major League Baseball. Today's game is brought to you by Buick, the new symbol for quality in America. Energizer brand batteries, nothing outlasts the Energizer. And by Reebok. On Planet Reebok, there are no limits, no boundaries.
Leo Mazzoni, that is what he usually does, that little sway coming forward and going backward.
Kind of rocks during the game. He says he isn't even conscious that he does it, but that is kind of the standard pose for Leo when we see him during the game.
I guess you could coin that the Mazzoni rock. But he is a very well-respected pitching coach. Everybody says, well, who couldn't be a coach for that staff when you have 4 great young pitchers? Well, he was a pitching coach for guys for the Atlanta Braves before they signed Greg Maddux. He was largely responsible for the development of Tommy Glavine, Steve Avery, John Smoltz for that matter, and some of the bullpenners also, namely Mike Stanton.
And Tommy Green, who did such a good job in shutting down Atlanta last night. Green started out in the Atlanta organization, and Mazzoni was his coach at 3 different levels in the minor leagues.
Leo telling us last night, as a matter of fact, that Tommy Green was 1 out away from a no-hitter in the minor leagues, 3 separate classifications, A, AA, and AAA, and he didn't get a no-hitter until he came to the big leagues. It's funny about the two pitching coaches for the two teams. Leo Mazzoni never pitched in the major leagues, and Johnny Padres was the quintessential pressure pitcher. Everybody in New York remembering him when he beat the Yankees. The only time Brooklyn ever beat the Yankees in Game 7 of the 1955 World Series, 2-0.
Otis Nixon, the leadoff batter in the 7th in a 3-3 game. Otis went ahead in the count 3-0. Now it's 3-2. He's 2 for 3 against Jackson today, including an RBI. Both hit singles. Otis has also stolen a base, his 44th. Jeff Blauser is on deck, and then Ron Gant. Danny Jackson starting his 31st game of the year today, and he has pitched through the 6th inning in all but 5 of those starts.
Talk to any baseball man, they'll say pitching is 70 to 80% of the game. Well, it stands to reason how important a pitching coach is if that's the case, and that is the case.
Another big mistake by Jackson. He's hurt himself on a couple of occasions today, most recently with the leadoff walk to Nixon here in the 7th. The third walk issued by Jackson. The first 2 walkers scored.
We talked earlier about how we felt Jeff Blauser was wasted by trying to bunt. I don't think Bobby Cox will sacrifice with Blauser here, and if he does, I think it's the wrong play.
He does turn to bunt, and it's ball 1 on Blauser.
So you've got Nixon, a stolen base threat, Blauser, a .337 hitter on the road, and to me the odds are better if you either have Nixon steal or Blauser hit, or a combination of the two. Maybe a hit and run play right here. I think Blauser's too good a hitter to waste him.
This will be the 3rd time in 4 plate appearances that he's been asked to sacrifice. He looked at a strike that time, 1-1. Double-barreled action in the Phillies pen. Larry Anderson, the right-hander, David West, the lefty. They've done an excellent job in the setup role, helping the Phillies get to Mitch Williams. .3-3 the score as the Braves bat in the top of the 7th.
Give you an idea, excuse me, Sean, to give you an idea of what I'm saying, coming into this game, Blauser had only sacrificed 4 times. He tried to sacrifice the first time, he did sacrifice the second time, and now he's trying to do it again. So that's 1 attempt, and if he gets it down, 2 sacrifices for a guy who's only sacrificed 4 times in games previous to this. And that's what I was talking about earlier, that why do anything differently? But in the last week of a pennant race, you're thinking a little bit more cautiously than you do earlier in the year.
Collins has moved back behind the third base bag now with the count of 1-2 on Blauser. This will be pitch number 107 when Danny Jackson next throws to the plate. Nixon runs. The pitch was a ball to throw, not in time. Nixon has his 2nd stolen base in the ball game, 45th of the year, and the Braves have the go-ahead run in scoring position with nobody out in the 7th.
Yeah, the Braves done this earlier, then you don't have a 2-strike count on Blauser. You have him much more aggressive at the plate. Otis Nixon stealing this base rather easily. Darren Dalton's throw a little to the first base side. Nixon was stolen base number 45 on the year. Now Darren Dalton saying you better hold him on. It was Nixon who was running when Gant lined into a double play in the 1st inning.
Blauser rips one down the left field line. That's a fair ball. And the Braves take the lead for the first time today. Nixon in to make it 4-3. And Blauser is safe at second with a double.
Well, Jeff Blauser does it the hard way. He does it with 2 strikes on him, and that's really what we were talking about and what we've been talking about the whole game, is to allow Jeff Blauser. I mean, the way he's been handled this afternoon, it's almost like he's an 8th place hitter. He's a number 2-hole hitter. You got speed at the top. Let him swing the bat. He did, and the Braves are on top.
And the walks have killed Danny Jackson today. He is likely to walk back to the dugout with Jim Fregosi. There's the bullpen door opening, and Larry Anderson will be the new pitcher. We'll return to Veterans Stadium in Philadelphia right after this.
Americans love their country. Live, it's the 27th Annual CMA Awards. Join Vince Gill and Clint Black for country's biggest night. Performing live, Garth Brooks, Mary Chapin Carpenter, Reba McEntire, Brooks and Dunn, Alan Jackson, and more. The CMA Awards Wednesday on CBS. See why Americans love their country.
To buy mutual funds, you could go to a broker and pay sales loads and fees, or a mutual fund company. But the top performing funds are almost never all in one family. That's why your best choice is Charles Schwab. At Charles Schwab, you can choose from 200 well-known no-load mutual funds with proven track records.
You pay no loads and no transaction fees.
So for a broad selection of mutual funds with no loads or fees,
maybe it's time to come to Schwab.
Hammaker Slimmer is a catalog company.
It was established in 1848. We are the first one to introduce the toaster, the electric shaver.
They had been an AT&T customer for over 100 years. Now they're with MCI.
They said, tell us about your store, tell us about your products. And they came up with a great package. They try to understand their customers' needs, and then they customize that package so that the customer truly benefits from service to savings or the attention that we need to get. MCI is the only choice.
People care about the world these days. They just don't want me to put another toxic antifreeze in their car. I mean, who needs toxic? So what if it protects to 70 below? Any antifreeze can do that. Tell me that it's different, safer. Tell me nothing protects better, and it's biodegradable. I mean, what if their dog gets into it? Or their kids? This is serious. It's a changing world. Poison's out.
New Sierra. It's not just antifreeze, it's safety freeze.
Tomorrow on the NFL Today, why are star quarterbacks getting the hook? The NFL cracks down on hard hits with a big fine. Plus, Randall Cunningham joins us live in the studio. That's all tomorrow at 12:30 Eastern on the NFL Today. All you need to know.
Bat next for Atlanta. Yesterday he spoke with Tim about a motivating factor for this big year.
I didn't get a chance to play in too many of the games in the World Series last year, and it hurt me a lot. I felt like I definitely had the potential to help the team in the World Series, but it didn't work out. I wasn't in the lineup, so I just dedicated the offseason and this season to getting back to the World Series and being able to play in every game and help the team.
Gant did not start in games 2, 3, 5, and 6 of the World Series last year in favor of Deion Sanders. He'll be in there if they get back to the World Series this year, that's for certain. He's on is Larry Anderson to face Gant with Blauser at second and nobody out. Atlanta has just taken its first lead of the ball game on the double by Blauser that knocked in Nixon, knocked Danny Jackson out of the ball game.
Larry Anderson, his 60th appearance of the year. The Phillies now have 3 pitchers with 60 appearances: Roger Mason, Mike Williams, and Larry Anderson, who is the oldest player in the National League at 40 years young.
His first pitch, check swing and a foul ball by Gant.
By the way, while we have a minute, Larry Anderson asked us to wish a speedy recovery to John Marinowitz, a police officer here in the city of Philadelphia who was shot in the line of duty. They didn't think his recovery would be quite as remarkable as it has been, and Larry wishing a recovery to John Marinowitz.
The one-strike pitch. Slap to second. Throw. Morandini. Blauser being waved around, and he will score to make it 5-3. And the Phillies have made a lot of little mistakes today that have added up. Morandini had a 66-game errorless streak on the line here today, and that has just ended. They posted the error, the second charge to the Phillies.
It's amazing how many breaks you get when you play the game the right way. Here's a dominant pull hitter hitting the ball hard on the ground the other way. It skips through Morandini, and while Gant will not get credited for a hit or an RBI, clearly going the other way, playing the game right, moving Blauser to third the proper way, and the Braves get a break.
And they lead by 2. McGriff took ball 1 just outside. He's hitless in 3 trips today. His fly to left, bounced to short, and popped to short. So Danny Jackson went 6 innings plus 2 batters here in the 7th. He allowed 5 runs, 4 of them earned on 8 hits. Walked 3, and all 3 of those men who walked scored. And Jackson struck out 4. A ball and a strike on McGriff. Anderson with the slide step missed, and now he wants a new ball as the count goes to 2-1 on McGriff. Larry Anderson first broke into Major League Baseball back in 1975 with the Cleveland Indians. He's pitched for Cleveland, Seattle, the Phillies, Houston, Boston, San Diego, and Philadelphia again at the Major League level. He's known as one of the funniest men in baseball.
Larry, a very curious guy, asked a lot of questions. Asking one of my favorites is, why do people sing "Take Me Out to the Ball Game" when they're already there?
He has also asked if a guy is a good fastball hitter, does that mean I should throw him a bad fastball? Full count now. There's Kurt Schilling, who is tomorrow's starting pitcher in the series finale. The last regular season meeting between these two teams this year. He'll be opposed by Steve Avery. Schilling and Tommy Green have been the stalwarts of the starting rotation. The runner goes, and McGriff bounces one into right field. Gant continues on to third. First and third, still nobody out in the 7th inning for Atlanta. Now they're threatening to break it open.
Well, the bottom part of the lineup tied it for the Braves. The production of Olson, Lemke, and Smoltz. And now it's the meat of the lineup that, as Sean said, threatens to blow it open. Gant to third easily. Still nobody out in this inning as McGriff singles.
Larry Anderson departs. David West, the new pitcher, when we come back.
Steve Young is so unbelievable, he even completed a pass to himself. Speaking of unbelievable, the Saints are undefeated. Sunday, Niners Saints on CBS. I'm a big fan.
Big state. Big man. And if you take him on... Big mistake. Chuck Norris is back as Walker, Texas Ranger. Season premiere tonight.
Want a taste you can't resist? There's no bag chip you can pop like this. Chips and bags got busted pieces. Brings you down with all their greases. Pringles can't stop. The Pringles can't stop. You got the stack, you got the bunch. For a whole lot of taste of the Pringles crunch. You got the duck-bill lizard too. Only Pringles rings taste like this to you. The Pringles can't stop. The Pringles can't stop. So can those bags of fresh whole chips. Nothing like Pringles crush your lips. Yeah, once you pop, you can't stop.
It's coming. The worst breath of the day, morning breath. And ready to meet that sticky, pasty film head on. A whole new feeling of clean. A clean as fresh as snow. Introducing the new cooling formula in Peppermint Scope. Its antibacterial action still kills millions of morning breath bacteria on contact. And compared to that other blue, more people prefer its new cooling formula for leaving their mouths feeling cleaner. Discover a whole new feeling of clean. New Peppermint Scope.
The secret to a strong finish is endurance. New High Endurance. Just watch how a day's worth of our deodorant outlasts the leading stick even after 24 hours. For the longest lasting, the best deodorant stick, demand proof. Get New High Endurance from Old Spice.
In the year 2032, in a peaceful world, two mortal enemies from another time will be unleashed.
I've dreamed about killing you for 40 years. Keep dreaming.
Sylvester Stallone, Wesley Snipes, Demolition Man. Rated R. Starts Friday, October 8th.
We remind you that tomorrow is an NFL doubleheader day here on CBS. It begins at 12:30 Eastern time with the NFL Today. Then at 1 o'clock Eastern time, Green Bay at Minnesota, the Rams at Houston, Tampa Bay at Chicago, Phoenix at Detroit, the menu. And at 4 Eastern, San Francisco at New Orleans. Again, it all starts with the NFL Today at 12:30 Eastern time. It's all you need to know.
David West now the pitcher for the Phillies. And Sean, we were talking about it while we were away. Odd that West wasn't brought into the game to pitch to Fred McGriff, who's a left-handed batter.
Jim Fregosi elected to leave the right-handed pitcher Anderson in to pitch to McGriff. Then brought West, the lefty, in to face to Pendleton, who's a switch hitter and actually a better hitter right-handed. Pendleton is at 295 from the right side this year, only 255 from the left. First and third and nobody out. The Braves have scored twice here in the 7th to take a 5-3 lead. Pendleton skies it into the upper deck, first base side. Terry's 0 for 3 today. Barry Bonds has hit another home run, this one to the bottom of the 4th. He has provided both San Francisco runs today, a pair of solo homers. Leads the league with 43, and the Giants lead San Diego 2-0. Bonds hit a home run last night, so he has 3 in the last 2 games. Prior to last night, he hadn't hit one since September 2nd. 3 weeks without a homer. Now he has 3 in 2 days. No swing, says Frank Pulley. 2 balls a strike on Pendleton.
That might be the first time I've seen an umpire with glasses on the bill of his cap like the players. Frank Pulley has sunglasses on top of his cap, kind of like Kurt Schilling shot a little while ago.
Chopped to short. He'll play for 2, and they turn it 6-4-3. Another run in. Can't cross the plate with an unearned run, and no RBI for Pendleton as a result of the twin killing. And here's a look at the second home run today by Barry Bonds. Off the starter Ashby. Another one to the left of center. The first home run was to straightaway left field. 2-0 Giants as they try to make it 8 wins in their last 9 ball games.
That was after losing 8 in a row.
Well, it looked for a while today like they might get some help from Philadelphia. They still might. But what was a 3-0 Philadelphia advantage is now a 6-3 Atlanta lead. The Braves started the day with a lead of a game and a half over San Francisco with the magic number 8. Atlanta's margin 1 in the loss column. 1 ball and 1 strike on David Justice. He's 0 for 3 today, has twice flied to center. And he struck out in the 4th against Danny Jackson. We've been talking from time to time about the clouds overhead, and now it has started to rain. The forecast wasn't for rain until tonight. But it's a little bit early in arriving. Looked like a pretty good breaking ball. Charlie Williams called it a ball. 2-2 on Justice. So the umbrellas pop out for the sellout crowd here. The count is full. West, a big guy, 6'6". They list him at 230. From Tim McCarver's hometown of Memphis, Tennessee.
Pitched for Craigmont High School in Memphis. Signed originally with the Mets, went to Minnesota, now with the Phillies.
He was a very highly touted prospect early in his career in the Mets organization. Never really developed as they thought he would, but seems to have found his role now that he has been converted from a starting pitcher into a setup man. He and Anderson have done a very good job in the setup role for Mitch Williams this year. Ball 4, he lost Justice. Another 2-out base runner for the Braves, and West will face the 7th Atlanta batter of the inning. They've scored 3 times to take a 6-3 lead. Greg Olson, 1 for 2. He doubled and scored in the 3rd, walked and scored in the 4th, and lined deep center in the 6th. The hits are even in this one now at 9 apiece. West took something off it and missed low.
Both pitching staffs, Phillies and the Braves, put together in dissimilar fashion. The Phillies with only 1 pitcher from their farm system, and that's Mike Williams. All others either a free agent or a trade. The Braves, on the other hand, from their farm system, Avery, even Steve Bedrosian from their farm system, Greg McMichael, Kent Merker, Pete Smith, Mike Stanton, Mark Wohlers. Actually, Greg McMichael signed with Cleveland, signed as a minor league free agent with the Braves. But the Braves, with an awful lot of guys through their farm system, and for years their farm system was dry, but abundance of talent in the last 5 or 6 years.
As we have mentioned on prior Atlanta Braves telecasts here on CBS, Bobby Cox deserves a lot of the credit for that. For several years he was the general manager, and he drafted so many of those players you mentioned. His priority was pitching when he took over this organization, and that strategy has paid off. Justice at first with 2 outs in the top of the 7th. 6-3 Atlanta. 3-1 the count on Greg Olson. Should he reach, Mark Lemke would bat next. Big hack and a miss. The count is full, and with 2 outs, Justice will be off with the 3-2 pitch. Olson touched by sadness this year. He had become friendly with Davey Allison, the race car driver. He was hoping that Davey would be able to visit if the Braves made it to the postseason. Of course, he was killed tragically in a helicopter accident at Talladega Speedway earlier in the summer. Another 3-2 pitch with Justice running is ball 4. Well, the walks have been the undoing of the Philadelphia pitching staff today. And the errors haven't helped either.
2 errors committed by the Phillies, one by Danny Jackson and the other by Mickey Morandini. Matter of fact, that's why Atlanta is still hitting the error by Morandini.
Only the 5th error of the year for Morandini. He had a streak of 66 games without an error. Lemke took a ball outside. Marks had a perfect day batting in the number 8 spot. He walked and scored in the 3rd, and has singled to right his last 2 times up. Talking earlier about Gold Glove candidates. We were talking about that yesterday before the ball game with Bobby Cox, and he was definitely touting Mark Lemke
as the Gold Glove second baseman. Chico Lean, who won it last year, has gone on to the American League with the Kansas City Royals. The consensus seems to be that Ryne Sandberg, who won it for so many years, is not quite the second baseman that he used to be. Might open the door for Lemke.
I don't think anybody in the National League gets rid of the ball quicker than Mark Lemke on a double play. Reminds me a lot of Bill Mazeroski of the Pirates. It appears that the ball doesn't even touch leather. Robbie Thompson's the closest. Robbie, as you mentioned earlier, out for a while.
Routine fly to left. And that ends the inning as Thompson put it away. And a big inning for the Braves. They score 3 times, helped by a walk and an error.
The Battles of October, coming to CBS.
Someone very special is on that train. That's why you're driving a Buick LeSabre. You love its powerful V6 engine, anti-lock brakes, and steel safety cage body unit. But you bought LeSabre for the dual airbags, one for you and one for that very special person who sits next to you. LeSabre from Buick, the new symbol for quality in America.
I got a new taste that's pure delight. New Pringles sour cream and onion light. That's right. Rich sour cream and tangy onion. Mmm, that taste is really something, because the dip is in the chips, so delicious on your lips. Look, compare Pringles to regular chips. Pringles have less fat and they're less greasy too. The proof's in front of you. So grab a bunch of this, not that, and get a whole lot of taste and less of the fat. New Pringles sour cream and onion light. That's right. Once you pop, you, and you can't stop.
When the camera starts to roll, even one flake of dandruff can ruin it all. That's why I use Head & Shoulders. You know, it's even better than it was just a couple of years ago. Today, it gets to 10 times more of the places dandruff starts. Because great hair can't have flakes.
They don't play kick the can like you used to. They don't dress the same way. They learned to read 3 years before you did. They've never owned a record. So why are you taking pictures of them with the same old film? Try Fujicolor Super G film. Because your pictures should be nostalgic. Your film shouldn't.
I'm getting older, so I have to push myself just a little bit harder.
Introducing a new, hard-working Power Stick. Now with more odor fighters per stroke than ever.
Hey, that's better for me and everybody else.
New Power Stick from Fabergé, the most powerful Power Stick ever.
Lenny Dykstra will lead off. Yesterday he spoke with Tim about his MVP chances.
It's nice to be recognized for what you do on the field and all the hard work that I've put in. But, you know, my main goal is right now is to help us win this division, and we're almost there. And, you know, that's my main thing that would bring me the most joy and happiness. I'm not going to lie to you and say I wouldn't want to win the MVP. I mean, who wouldn't? But, you know, I have control over that, but I don't have control over that. But I'm just going to go out and play and do my part, and whatever happens, happens.
Well, certainly he's come a long way to be considered for that award, since he wasn't a member of the All-Star team in July. He was one of the notable omissions. He's 1 for 3 today. He singled in the second on John Smoltz. That's down the left field line and slicing. Foul.
One name that comes to mind who was not on the All-Star team and yet an MVP, Dave Parker, back in the late 70s. I think Hank Greenberg in 1935, the MVP, a guy who had 103 RBIs at the All-Star break, didn't make the All-Star team, and his manager, Mickey Cochran, was the manager of the All-Star team.
Probably didn't do much for the manager-player relationship.
Not a lot, no.
Back then, Hank probably didn't have an All-Star game bonus in his contract like so many of the top players do now. Philly fanatic and the fans trying to help out the Phillies, who suddenly trailed by 3. Out of play and left again. Top of the order, Dykstra, Morandini, and Kruk. In the 7th, Phillies haven't scored since the 1st, although they've had a runner in every inning since then except the 3rd. The 0-2 pitch struck him out. Good sinking movement on the pitch from Smoltz. With his 103rd pitch of the ball game, he records his 7th strikeout.
It's not a lot considering his 7 strikeouts, but the one thing is that Smoltz has not walked anybody in this game. And that really is, boy, the bottom dropped out of that thing. That was a splitter and a good one.
Now Morandini, whose error contributed to the 3-run top of the 7th. He's batting with 1 out of the bases empty in the bottom of the 7th. He's 1 for 3, singled and scored the first run of the ball game. And has another hit. That might go all the way to the wall on the turf. It will. And Morandini is into second with a 1-out double.
Morandini sits on the 0-1 fastball. He gets it. It's all the way to the wall past Justice, and Morandini has his 18th double of the year.
And the 10th hit of the ball game for the Phillies. They're out hitting the Braves again, 10-9. John Kruk, 1 for 3. He singled and scored in the first.
Long layoff for Smoltz, a long top of the 7th inning. However, the way he pitched Dykstra, no apparent problems with that. Matter of fact, he has not thrown a ball this inning. He's thrown 7 straight strikes to Dykstra and Morandini.
Working now to Kruk. There's the first ball, low and in. San Francisco still leads on the 2 Bonds home runs. Torres working on the shutout. Toronto defeated New York, reducing its magic number to 2. Texas and Chicago will play 2 tomorrow. A ball to straightaway center. He had room in straightaway center. That one will roll all the way to the wall. At least 2 for Kruk. The run has scored as he tries for 3. Lemke with the relay, not in time. It's 6-4, and the Phillies have a runner at third and 1 out.
There is not a hitter in the National League who can hit a line drive almost to straightaway center field. It was about 3 feet to the right of second base and get a triple out of it. We mentioned earlier that the overshift, Otis Nixon way over into left center field, and Otis has a long way to run. Not only does Kruk have an extra base hit, but it's a triple instead of a double. Nixon a long way to track it down, and Kruk a shorter way to track it into third. The Krucker tracking.
The 11th hit given up by Smoltz, that matches the most hits that he's ever given up in a start. He'll be replaced by Mark Wohlers. The tying run coming to the plate for Philadelphia when we come back.
I always wanted to practice in a small town. I like to know the people I'm taking care of. It's important for me to be involved with the community. That's the way I want to live. I got a GM MasterCard because I wanted to do something special for my daughter's birthday. It was easy. I transferred my other credit card balances to my GM card and earned 5%. It was a thrill to give her the Beretta. It's a big part of her life. I don't think Christy will ever forget her 16th birthday.
The GM card with no annual fee. To apply, call 1-800-8GM-CARD.
This is your world, genuine and true, working together in all that you do, and you're giving it your best. Proud to be your bud. Budweiser. Proud to be your bud. Proud to be your bud. Ooh, yeah. Proud to be your bud.
A little boy is swept away by a fast-running river. Now can the love and courage of his dog save his life?
Out of nowhere, Bella was there.
All new 911 Tuesday.
Tomorrow on the NFL Today, why are star quarterbacks getting the hook? The NFL cracks down on hard hits with a big fine. Plus, Randall Cunningham joins us live in the studio. That's all tomorrow at 12:30 Eastern on the NFL Today. All you need to know.
Well, the atmosphere was a little bit somber moments ago as the Braves had taken a 3-run lead in the top of the inning. But the Phillies have scored once to pull within 2, and they have the tying run coming to the plate as Atlanta has Mark Wohlers on the mound.
Wohlers trying to be true to his name and put the wool on the Philadelphia Phillies with John Kruk at third base and 1 out, trying to prevent the run from scoring. This is a good move by Bobby Cox, bringing in the right-handed Wohlers to face the switch-hitting Dave Hollins, because Hollins is a much better right-handed batter than he is a left-handed batter.
Smoltz departs after 6 1/3. When you put the wool on somebody, what is it that you are doing?
Well, the woe. Woe is me.
Whoa, okay. Yes.
W-O-E. Whoa.
Whoa.
As opposed to whoa.
And woe is me for not hearing that correctly. Tough to hear with all the noise in the stadium at the moment. Kruk at third, following his 5th triple of the year. The RBI is 84th of the year. Tying run at the plate. Dave Hollins took a Wohlers fastball for strike 1. Hollins against Smoltz today was 2 for 3 with 2 doubles. He drove in 2 runs and scored 1. 6 runs on 9 hits for Atlanta. 4 runs, 11 hits, and 2 big errors for Philadelphia. The 0-1. He tried to check his swing. They appealed to third. He didn't check it. Hollins at the plate. Dalton on deck. A ball low. 2 balls and 1 strike. The light rain continues to fall, as you can see in that shot of Mark Wohlers, a 24-year-old native of Holyoke, Massachusetts. Ball 3 is low, and now Wohlers is in danger of issuing the first walk by an Atlanta pitcher today. Smoltz, despite entering the ballgame second in walks issued in the National League, didn't walk anybody in 6 1/3 innings while striking out 7.
Mark Wohlers with a 98-mile-an-hour fastball on that 2-1 pitch.
This is the 3-1. Hollins swung away, might have swung at ball 4 as that pitch was riding up and away.
Of course, when it's coming in there 98 miles an hour, you don't have a lot of time to decide. But Mark Wohlers, as you look at Jim Fregosi, Mark Wohlers reminds me a lot of Todd Worrell when Worrell came up with the Cardinals in 1985. Same stature, tall, thin, throws a hard fastball and a slider. The difference between those two is that Wohlers has an excellent split-finger fastball.
The 6'4" right-hander delivers. He struck him out. Another fastball with plenty on it. Hollins the 2nd out of the inning.
Good old country hardball. Here it is, hit it, and Hollins didn't. 98-mile-an-hour fastball once again.
And that will add fuel to the fire of those here in Philadelphia who say Hollins should hit right-handed all the time. A big out without putting the ball in play. Bobby Cox was willing to let them have the run in from third, and Hollins hit a simple ground ball. Aaron Dalton took a fastball for a strike.
Man, that is some gas right there. I mean, he is blowing.
Dalton has struck out his last 2 times up. That's a bullet toward the right field corner. After throwing all kinds of smoke by the Phillies hitters, he went to an off-speed pitch, and Dalton hammered it to make it a 1-run game.
Well, I was thinking the same thing. You're just blowing the Phillies away, and now all of a sudden you come in with something off-speed, either a slider or a splitter. See, a pitcher's off-speed stuff is not nearly as good when they're from their stretch as their fastball is. They don't have the high leg kick. And this looked like a splitter and was up in the strike zone. And that speeds up the bat head of Dalton, who drives in his 104th run of the year. I agree totally there, Sean. I mean, when you're blowing guys away, if you're going to get beat, and you can almost read Leo Mazzoni's mind right there. The pitching coach gets up, goes to the tunnel, and you got to be thinking that he's saying, you're blowing guys away. Why go to the off-speed stuff?
Throwing at 98 miles per hour, he did them a big favor. It's a one-run game.
I'm getting older, so I have to push myself just a little bit harder.
Introducing a new, hard-working Power Stick. Now with more odor fighters per stroke than ever.
Hey, that's better for me and everybody else.
New Power Stick from Fabergé, the most powerful Power Stick ever.
This is a Goodyear Aquatred, and this is a gallon of water. Aquatred's deep groove design channels water away. At highway speeds, it moves a gallon of water every second for outstanding wet traction. Aquatred, only from Goodyear.
A 40-year-old woman who loves a kid cereal. Just doesn't add up.
Brave adults challenge the notion that Kellogg's Frosted Flakes are just for kids.
I face 5 alarmers, and I can't face my 5-year-old at breakfast.
Proving again that even the most courageous can't resist that sweet crunch in cold milk.
I love them, but I can't tell you why.
The secret's out. Frosted Flakes have the taste adults have grown to love. They're great.
A hero from the 60s visits FYI.
The voice of my generation.
But who's done the most research?
I got his autograph. I met him. I shook his hand. I slept with him. You win.
All new Murphy Monday.
Earlier in the game, we talked about the rocking motion of Leo Mazzoni. Well, he was not rocking when he got up after that hit by Darren Dalton. And, you know, guys don't second guess. I mean, you never know what pitch is the right pitch. But pitchers and catchers are trained that if you're going to get beat in the late innings, especially in a game this important, get beat with your best stuff. And when you're a guy like Mark Wohlers and you throw in that hard, there is no need to go to any other pitch.
Wohlers goes to the bench, looks on from the dugout as Ken Merker warms up. The tying run is at second for Philadelphia with 2 outs in the bottom of the 7th. They've scored twice on the heels of the 3-run top of the 7th by Atlanta. Dalton with the double, the second RBI of the ball game, 105th of the year. And Wes Chamberlain is batting for Eisenreich. Eisenreich went 0 for 3. Chamberlain, a .276 hitter with 12 homers and 42 knocked in. He's only 3 for 19 as a pinch hitter. He started last night. Merker's first pitch, a ball low and away. To Chamberlain, hitting .325 this year against lefties. Merker's 1-0. Hammered toward right center and in for a hit. Dalton coming around to score. This ball game is tied at 6.
Play by Nixon to prevent that ball from going in for extra bases.
Well, during the hot streak, Bobby Cox's bullpen has been excellent, but not today. Steve Bedrosian will be the 4th pitcher of the inning for Atlanta when we come back.
Welcome to the 21st century. Have a nice day. Sylvester Stallone, Wesley Snipes, Demolition Man, rated R. Starts Friday, October 8th. when life turns up the heat.
Can they start the wedding without me?
This shouldn't take long, honey.
Nothing protects you like Degree antiperspirant. It's body heat activated to release extra protection. Degree, your body heat turns it on.
Ever wonder why a hamburger costs $10 in Tokyo? Or why a cab to the airport there runs about $120? Or why their luxury cars seem so expensive, especially when compared to the Oldsmobile 88 Special Edition, which, even with air, automatic, cruise, tilt, anti-lock brakes, and dual airbags, costs just $19,995? It's your money.
Okay, luge competition or bowling?
Luge. Bowling.
Okay, we'll watch bowling.
Miller Lite presents luge bowling. Cool. Boy, is he fast.
He better be, Bob, because here come those bowling balls.
Brought to you by Miller Lite. If you can combine great taste with less filling, you can combine anything.
He's got the angle. Oh, no, it's a 7-10 split.
Oh, nice pickup.
Great taste, less filling. Can your baby do this?
The average sumo wrestler weighs 420 pounds. The average person puts 9,000 times that much weight on their feet every day. The average shoe just wasn't designed to take this kind of pressure, which is why Dr. Scholl's didn't create the average insoles. Using space-age materials, Dr. Scholl's has created its new line of insoles and inserts to give your shoes revolutionary support, cushioning, and shock absorption. Make life in your shoes more comfortable with Dr. Scholl's.
This game summary is sponsored by Dr. Scholl's.
Atlanta with 3 runs in the top of the 7th, 3 unearned runs in this game, and the Phillies with 3 in the bottom of the 7th. And Steve Bedrosian is in the game. He is the 4th Atlanta pitcher, and he's facing a hitter he has never faced before, Pete Incaviglia, the pinch hitter who was announced before Bedrosian came into the game.
Incaviglia batting for Milt Thompson, who went 2 for 3 today with a couple of singles. I mentioned earlier, Inky returned last night to the Philadelphia lineup, having missed 11 days with a calf muscle pull. Go-ahead run at first. Wes Chamberlain there after his big pinch hit single. Off Merker. Chamberlain the only batter Merker faced.
Wes Chamberlain did not put himself in the best light on opening day. He was late for the opening day game. Late. And since that time, Jim Fregosi told Wes what he thought of that, about his attitude. And from then on to the present time, this whole season, as a matter of fact, Chamberlain has done everything Fregosi has asked of him. He has just been a terrific platoon player, platooning with Eisenreich in right field.
On Incaviglia. There was 87 runs batted in this year, only has 96 hits. Big swing, high pop-up, not deep in right. Justice puts it away, an end to a wild 7th inning as each team scored 3 times. 6-6 as we go to the 8th.
So do you know what happened when the Oldsmobile 88 LSS was tested independently against the Acura Legend L and Lexus ES 300? Actually, no. Well, kind of, when you consider how much more those other cars cost. My point exactly, because we'd like to send you a free video of the test. Well, then how are you on toll-free numbers? It's your call.
All right, Chief, open wide. Come on. Look, Daddy loves corn pops, see? And here it comes. Such a good boy.
The problem with a cereal that tastes like popcorn, only sweeter, is that it disappears like popcorn, only faster.
Y'all finished? Good boy.
He may want seconds.
Kellogg's Corn Pops. It's hard to stop when it's Pops.
Imagine a deodorant that keeps a man feeling as clean and fresh as this all through the day. Well, this is it. It's Ban for Men. Clean and fresh because it goes on clear. And Ban for Men sets up a clear shield of protection that fights odor-causing bacteria for a full 24 hours. So feel this clean, this fresh. Try Clear Ban for Men deodorant. And now, Ban for Men comes in new antiperspirant formula. It's the first clear solid that helps keep you dry.
He did what?
If this reminds you of the level of productivity in your office,
Bonehead.
there's something you should know.
It is. Who got the paper stuck in there?
I just put new paper in.
How'd you do it?
Buyers Lab gave every Mita copier they tested their highest rating for uptime. So if you want a more productive office, get a Mita. Call 1-800-ABC-MITA.
I'm Bob Schieffer. A U.S. helicopter is shot down in Somalia. 3 Americans are dead. And Yeltsin's opponents appear to be fading on tonight's CBS Evening News.
And we hope you'll be with us for the battles of October here on CBS. The postseason begins with Game 1 of the American League Championship Series Tuesday night, October 5th. New pitcher for Philadelphia is Roger Mason as we go to the 8th in a 6-6 game. Sean McDonough along with Tim McCarver, they've been billing this matchup all weekend here in Philadelphia as a possible playoff preview, and certainly San Francisco will have a lot to say about that in the next week. But if this is a preview, let's hope the movie is even better. It'd be tough to top this today.
That's right. A week from Wednesday, the National League starts. A week from Tuesday, the American League. And if those are going to be battles, this is a skirmish.
The most entertaining scrimmage. Roger Mason, acquired at midseason from San Diego. And Deion Sanders is the pinch hitter. Batting in the pitcher's spot. They went through 4 pitchers in the inning, did the Braves, but they didn't make a double switch, so the pitcher was scheduled lead off. Sanders batting for Bedrosian. You saw Deion's excellent record this year as a pinch hitter. Still 2-0 San Francisco. Toronto beat New York earlier today 3-1, reducing the magic number to 2. Texas and Chicago postponed by rain. 1-2 on Sanders. Breaking ball missed. Mason has had a problem. It has been with the home run ball. Since joining Philadelphia, he's given up 8 home runs in only 46 innings, and that's led to speculation in this area that he might be jeopardizing his role in the postseason. Just missed the outside corner. Full count on Deion.
Well, the one thing about Sanders as a pinch hitter, he is a double threat because he's not only a good hitter, good on base percentage, but if he gets on, he's a terrific base runner, perhaps the best the Braves have.
To the right side, a long way for Morandini. Got there from his knee. Safe at first. Sanders sliding in just ahead of the throw from Morandini.
See, Sanders is not only a pinch hitter, he's a pinch runner too. He is double-barrel dangerous. Most guys would be out on this play. Sanders is safe. And now you've got to worry about him because of his speed on the bases. Close. It looked like that top foot may have come over the bag, and the back foot hit. Look at the top foot and see if it catches the first base bag.
Wow.
See, I think the back foot may have hit, but the top foot, this is a straight in slide. You see how the rear end kind of kicks that foot up, and he could very easily have been out on a force play then. Not on the tag, but on the force play.
Sanders with 19 steals in 26 tries. Nixon squared to bunt and took a strike. 6-6 the score in the top of the 8th. Nixon has 2 singles and a walk today. He's stolen 2 bases, scored 1, and driven in 1.
Going to try to bunt right here, and it's obvious that Nixon will. You try to bunt it to first base because Kruk has to hold Sanders on. He can't afford to leave too soon as you see Darren Dalton peeking over at Sanders between Nixon and the umpire.
Mason to the plate. The bunt popped up. Dalton couldn't find it. And even if he had spotted it right off the bat, it didn't get high enough in the air for him to flag it down.
Interesting situation here. Do you have Nixon bunt again with 2 strikes? He fouls it off. Of course, it's a strikeout. Or do you allow him to hit? You're not going to double him up. I think hitting is the proper thing. And then if the count works to 1 and 2, 2-2, then you send Sanders.
Hollins has moved back even with the bag at third now. The middle of the infield at double play depth. Just outside.
I think if I was Darren Dalton, I'd pitch out here. This is an ideal steal situation. You got 3 pitches to work with a count 1 and 2. Good time to take a chance.
Sanders is not running. Nixon slaps it to left, sinking fast and in for a hit and miss play by Incaviglia. It'll go all the way to the wall. Sanders around to score. Nixon may try it. He'll be held at third. And the Braves are back on top, 7-6.
Otis Nixon has been on base 4 times. He has scored a run. He has driven in 2 with a stolen base. Make that 2 stolen bases. It's a cakewalk for Sanders after the ball gets by Incaviglia. Triple number 4 for Nixon. Sanders even stumbling, rounding third, but scoring easily.
He tripped over the cake.
At least a piece of it.
So another misplay in the field by the Phillies. That one has been scored a triple, but once Incaviglia realized he wasn't going to catch it, he really should have played back on the ball. Instead, he turned it into a triple. Blauser the batter with the infield in. Sanders has scored the go-ahead run. 7-11-0 for Atlanta, 6-13 and now 3. They have posted an error. They've changed the scoring to a single and a 2-base error. And no RBI for Nixon. Blauser foul tipped it. The 3 errors have hurt. 3 walks issued earlier by Danny Jackson resulted in 3 runs scored for Atlanta. 1-1 on Blauser. Gant is on deck in the top of the 8th. Mason missed low and in. Incaviglia told us last night that he didn't want to go back in the lineup until he was convinced that he was fully healthy and recovered from that calf muscle pull, because he was particularly concerned about his fielding. Said he didn't want to be a butcher in left field. He told us yesterday the calf was fine. He was able to run down anything, and it wasn't the calf that gave him trouble. He just misplayed it. That's not very deep. A long way to go for Morandini with the infield playing in, but he's under it to make the catch. Nixon will try to score, and he will. And a pop up to second. Morandini with his momentum going away from the play had a tough throw. Neither outfielder, Chamberlain nor Dykstra, could get there to make the catch, it appeared. So Nixon took advantage of it. A big run across to make it a 2-run game.
Well, that's why, if possible, an outfielder should take a play like this, because he's moving toward home, whereas an infielder is moving away from home. Once Morandini caught the ball, he took 2.5 steps back, and that allowed Nixon a chance to score. Brilliant base running by Otis Nixon.
Well, the Braves have done just about all the little things right today. The Phillies have killed themselves with those types of things. Credit Blauser with a sacrifice fly to the second baseman. Now Gant, a deep drive to left. Home run, Ron Gant. The gopher ball bites Roger Mason again. Three runs in the seventh and three more here in the eighth. 9-6 Atlanta against 36th RBI, 36th home run rather, and 114th RBI of the year.
Boy, did this ball leave the yard in a hurry. Ouch. Interesting thing about Ron Gann, he does not get a lot of lift on his home runs. His home runs are kind of between fly balls and line drives. But nobody in the National League gets the ball out of a ballpark when they do crush it any faster than Ron Gann.
Johnny Padres, the pitching coach, a trip to the mound to chat with Mason. So just as quickly as the Phils got three to tie it up, the Braves have answered with three to reclaim a three-run lead. Fred McGriff, the batter. He fouled it at the plate. Again, the Braves started the day with a game-and-a-half lead over San Francisco. Giants leading 2-0 in the last report, and now they're in the bottom of the sixth inning. And imagine the reaction out of Candlestick when they keep posting these scores from the vet. Undoubtedly tremendous cheers when the Phillies tied it up at 6-6. Now there'll be major disappointment when they post the 3 runs for Atlanta. Here in the top of the 8th. That's sharply hit. Kruk stayed down with it. Nice play for the second out. Sellout crowd here at Veterans Stadium, 57,176. They'll have another sellout tomorrow for the final meeting of the regular season between these two teams and the final home game of the year for Philadelphia in the regular season. Phillies lead the season series between these two teams 6-4 entering today's play. Terry Pendleton looked at strike one. He's 0 for 4. He is now the only Braves starter today who has not reached base. 0-2 on Pendleton.
Braves shut out last night 3-0, and they have come back this afternoon and hit an awful lot of balls hard. Even their outs have been hit hard. They've even brought rain.
And it's getting a little harder. Pendleton chased one eye high and popped it foul and out of play. That's the slate facing the Braves. Just the one remaining away game tomorrow in the series finale. Then 3 at home with Houston and 3 at home to close out the regular season with Colorado. They're 10-0 against the Rockies. I wonder if that gentleman from Imperial, Nebraska, Tom Elder, will drive down to Atlanta to watch the Rockies play. That's an amazing story on Baseball 93 about his dedication to the Rockies. Pendleton has a hit, so now every Brave starter today has reached base. And that's the 13th hit.
San Francisco's schedule, they have 4 games remaining at home, 2 against the San Diego Padres. That's after today, by the way. That's tomorrow and Monday. Then Tuesday and Wednesday against the Rockies. Maybe Tom will drive out to San Francisco to see him play and then go to Atlanta.
Perhaps he will. He's that kind of a dedicated fan, that's for sure.
Last 4 games of the Giants against the arch rival Los Angeles Dodgers.
Justice 0 for 3 with a walk last inning. Well hit through Kruk and down the right field line. Pendleton heading for third. He'll be held. Justice into second. 2 more men in scoring position for Atlanta. And Justice has his first hit. Justice 50th double of the year to go along with the 37 homers.
Kruk tries to backhand this ball. The ball stays down on him. Watch Kruk, who moves out to cut down the gap, and now the ball stays down on him, trickling into right field, and Justice with a double.
Pendleton at third. Justice at second. Eighth batter of the inning is Greg Olson. Braves sent 8 men up in the 7th inning. Olson's had an excellent day. He's walked twice and doubled. He has scored twice. The only time they retired him was on a line drive to deep center. Action in the Philadelphia bullpen. Bobby Thigpen has just started warming up, as Mason has provided no relief for the Phillies here in the 8th. One and two the count on Olson. Jim Fregosi said he ignored all of the articles and radio talk show hosts who were talking about 1964 and the Phillies' infamous collapse that year. Hollins, low throw handled by Kruk and handcuffed him a bit. But he was able to glove it for the final out of the inning. Another productive inning for Atlanta. They take a 3-run lead to the bottom of the 8th.
So guess what happened when we told people what those cars cost?
Actually, I thought the Oldsmobile cost more than that.
The Oldsmobile, I think you're getting a fantastic car for the price.
If you consider how close the 3 cars are,
Yeah.
and they're very similar.
I couldn't tell any difference.
It's your money.
If you demand more from an aftershave than that same old alcohol burn, you gotta try a brand new aftershave. New Sensitive from Old Spice. It's alcohol-free because alcohol burns. That's why they took it out and put these new cooling sensates in. For real refreshment to go with that great scent. It's proof aftershave doesn't have to hurt to work. So use New Sensitive, or you might get burned. Take the heat out of aftershave. Demand proof. Try new alcohol-free Sensitive from Old Spice.
To everyone struggling to build a future in this era of challenge, uncertainty, and change, come in under the strength of our $50 billion in assets. To everyone wrestling with the rising costs of doing business, commercial insurance, workers' comp, come in under a program that has helped save American companies over $300 million. Come in where America's spirit is found. The Travelers, America's umbrella.
This is your time. Time for the good taste of Smucker's Apricot Preserves. Jams are naturally fat-free, less than 20 calories per teaspoon. So few calories, so good. With a name like Smucker's, it has to be good.
This is a Goodyear AquaTread, and this is a gallon of water. AquaTread's deep groove design channels water away. At highway speeds, it moves a gallon of water every second for outstanding wet traction. AquaTread, only from Goodyear.
Another update from Candlestick Park, where the Giants have just added to their lead. Darren Lewis with a single to score Kurt Manwaring. And it's 3-0 San Francisco, now in the top of the 8th. Here it's the bottom of the 8th. Atlanta leads 9-6. 3 runs in the 7th and 3 in the 8th. And the 3 runs by Philadelphia sandwiched in between. Greg McMichael, the new pitcher.
Greg McMichael, it's unusual to see a team stopper come in the 8th inning. As a matter of fact, the Braves have only used McMichael once this year in the 8th to pick up a save. But that was a very important game back on September the 2nd against the Giants.
He's greeted by Kevin Stalker. 1-1 the count. He's 1 for 3 today. He's popped out, singled, and fly to center. Check swing, close pitch, called the ball. Pitchers due next. Tony Longmire stepped into the on-deck circle to bat for the pitcher.
Braves using 4 pitchers in the 7th inning, but they are very deep on their pitching roster. They are carrying 13 pitchers. Jay Howe still available. Mike Stanton's still available.
And it's still crowded out there in the bullpen. Pete Smith. That's ball 4. Not the way McMichael wanted this outing to begin. This copyrighted telecast is presented by authority of Major League Baseball and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form without the express written consent of Major League Baseball. Sean McDonough with Tim McCarver at sold-out Veterans Stadium in Philadelphia. Some of the fans have departed with the 3-run Atlanta lead in the 8th, and with the rain falling down and a relatively annoying clip now. Here's Tony Longmire, who was recalled from AAA Scranton Wilkes-Barre on August 31st. He is eligible for the postseason roster. He's 1 for 6 as a major leaguer. And he looked at a strike from McMichael.
How can you lead this game with what the Phillies did in the bottom of the 7th inning?
It is an excellent question. Down the line, a square and a fair ball right off the end of the bat. Gant got to it quickly to stop the runner. Stocker at second. Longmire has his second major league hit. And here comes the tying run back to the plate for Philadelphia.
This is a great play by Ron Gant to hold not only Stocker at second, but Longmire to first, because if Stocker goes to third and makes it, then Longmire's at second base. First and second and nobody out, regardless of how many runs you're behind. First and second, nobody out. A big difference than second and third and nobody out. Because now the infield can be in double play depth, and there's a chance to either double up Dykstra or Morandini. Fine play by Ron Gant to keep the Phillies at first and second instead of allowing them to move up 90 feet.
Now Dykstra, the National League leader in hits. He singled to the second, picking up his 188th hit of the year. He's the tying run at the plate with nobody out in the bottom of the 8th. 9-6 Atlanta. Mickey Morandini scheduled to follow, and then John Kruk. Those fans who remain are making plenty of noise. Many of them on their feet. Ball 1 up and away. McMichael converted his first 15 save opportunities. He has failed to convert in his last 2 tries.
That was against the Mets last weekend, last Friday night and Saturday afternoon.
On the outside corner. Well, if you want to be the MVP, these are the kinds of situations in which you have to deliver. With the catch for the first out of the inning.
Example, had Gant not made that play, the Phillies have another run. If this were the 9th inning, that play he made down along the left field foul line wouldn't have been as important. But since it's the 8th, it was a very, very important play.
Dykstra up the runway will probably release some of his frustration. And McMichael can get out of it now with a double play ball off the bat of Morandini, who's 2 for 4 today. All of that action against the starter Smoltz. He has a double and a single. He has scored twice. high. McMichael released by Cleveland in 1991 and really came to spring training this year with Atlanta with very little chance to make the ball club. But he pitched so well, in the words of Bobby Cox, if we didn't keep him on the team out of spring training, the players would have killed us. Another pop-up. This one will be close. Pendleton has a play. 2 outs. John Kruk still representing the tying run.
And the outfield of the Braves still shifted around to left field. They were burned the last time Kruk was up as he tripled to almost straightaway center field. He's more inclined to pull McMichael because McMichael throws a lot of change-ups to left-handers that go away from him. Justice into right center field.
Kruk goes to left, not deep. And McMichael will pitch out of it. The Phillies got the first 2 men on and left them at first and second. On to the 9th, 9-6 Atlanta.
I was just horrified when my daughter had cavities at her last dental visit. I said, "Doctor, what can we do?" He said, "I'll give her a fluoride treatment here, but she's got to brush twice a day the right way at home."
Because you can't have a dentist fluoride treatment every day, between visits, Crest Fluorostat treats your teeth with fluoride to continue the fight against cavities. It's a fluoride treatment for your teeth at home.
So Sally brushed with Crest, and her next visit was great. I've got to act like a mom and think like a dentist.
Crest, a fluoride treatment for your teeth at home.
Recently, we invited Mazda, Acura, Porsche, all car companies to compare their sports cars with our new Firebird formula to see who could match our standard driver and passenger airbags, standard anti-lock brakes, and 275 horsepower engine, and do it for even twice the price of this new Firebird. No one could. No one. This is the new standard for sports car safety, performance, and value.
Steve Young is so unbelievable, he even completed a pass to himself. Speaking of unbelievable, the Saints are undefeated. Sunday, Niners Saints on CBS. I'm a big fan.
CBS Sports presents Major League Baseball. Today's game is brought to you by Oldsmobile. New Old Spice Sensitive. It's alcohol-free to take the heat out of aftershave. And by Goodyear, #1 in tires.
Tomorrow is a doubleheader NFL Sunday here on CBS. The game's at 1 and 4 Eastern Time, and it all begins with the NFL Today tomorrow at 12:30 Eastern Time. It's all you need to know. Greg and Terry.
A 9-6 ball game. Atlanta on top, and Bobby Thigpen will be the pitcher for the Phillies. Former White Sox great, attended Mississippi State University. Matter of fact, he was a hitter down there. He played in the outfield some. Will Clark, Rafael Palmeiro, picked up by the Phillies in late July. Bobby Thigpen in to try to hold the Braves and hope that the Phillies can muster something in the bottom of the 9th inning.
As that ERA suggests, it has been a tough time for Bobby since he joined the Philadelphia Phillies. He set the major league record for saves in a season with 57 saves in 1990. And there have been many who have suggested that that season took its toll on Thigpen. He really has not been the same since. Mark Lemke leads off. David Berryhill to follow, and then Otis Nixon. The Braves look to add to a 9-6 lead in the 9th inning. Each team has 14 hits. Big difference in the ball game. 3 errors committed by Philadelphia. All three of them costly errors. San Francisco now batting in the bottom of the 8th, leading 3-0. 2 solo home runs by Barry Bonds in that ball game. Toronto beat New York earlier today 3-1. Texas and Chicago postponed by rain. So it appears almost certain that Texas, Chicago, and Philadelphia will win their divisions. And the one still up for grabs, the National League West, with the Giants in hot pursuit of the Braves, who pursued them for most of the summer. There were many comparisons made lately between the race in the National League West this season and the race in the American League East in 1978 between New York and Boston. Morandini kicked it and recovered to throw him out. Just barely.
Morandini having all sorts of problems with that wet artificial surface. This ball hitting him on the heel of the glove. But he recovers in time to get Lemke. That's right. A lot of people wrote off the Boston Red Sox with a week to play. I think what they win 6 in a row in 1978 to tie the Yankees. And then the Yankees in that memorable playoff game with Bucky Dent. And I think it is a similar situation. The Giants losing 8 in a row. And if they win today and they're leading 3-0 in the 8th, it'll make it 8 out of 9. And a lot of teams would have just sat down when the Braves were so hot, but not the Giants. Deserve a lot of credit.
Indeed they do. 0-2 the count on Damon Berryhill batting for the first time today. 1 out, top of the 9th. 9-6 Atlanta. The Phillies have Hollins, Dalton, and Chamberlain due up in the bottom of the 9th. Out of play in the left field seats. Still 0-2 on Berryhill. Close, but not a strike. 1-2.
Interesting that 2 months ago the Cardinals were getting closer to the Phillies. Then Montreal made a move. It was tight in the American League East. It was relatively tight in the American League West. And the Giants were so far out in front of the Atlanta Braves. They were 10 games out on July 22nd. And of all the races, the most unusual race to be close at this time of the year would have been the National League West. And here it is, the closest of the 4.
I think the feeling of most baseball fans around the country too, Tim, was once Atlanta went by San Francisco. Ouch. You can hear that up here. Hit him right on the elbow.
Looked like he got the front arm out of the way, but not the back one. Yep, right under the front elbow, and it hit the back elbow. Oh man, that had to hurt. So he clears that one arm up, and then it pops him right on the left elbow. Catchers get enough knocks behind the plate without having to endure this while at the plate.
My arm's sore.
Mine too.
As we were saying, I think the perception was once Atlanta caught them, went by the Giants, were ahead by 4 games, it looked like that was the division that was a lock, that they'd just keep running away and hiding with the Giants reeling and the Braves playing so well. Nixon slapped it to second. They'll settle for the 1. They force Berryhill for 6 the scoring. And Nixon is on base for the 5th time today, this time via the fielder's choice. On this date in baseball history, September 25th, 1965, Satchel Paige, at the age of 59, made his final major league appearance. Yes, we think. Might have been even more than that. He admitted to 59. Finished up for the Kansas City Athletics against the Red Sox with 3 scoreless innings.